Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for joining us for the Legislative Oversight LO 25-0012 investigative hearing of the Bureau of Solid Waste and Department of Public Works. I'd like to thank Council President Cohn to my left. I'd like to also thank Vice Chair Councilman Glover and the colleagues on the committee and the rest of my colleagues for being here today. It's no secret that for years, Council President Cohn, when he was a councilman, as well as Councilman Glover and I, along with our council colleagues, have been fighting for better pay and better working conditions for our DPW workers, especially in the solid waste department for many years. Not long after I became a councilman, it was one hot summer day and there was collections taking place in my neighborhood, and I went out and brought the workers some drinks. And next thing I know, I found myself in a pretty deep conversation with the workers. They told me a lot of details. They told me about how poorly they were being paid. They told me about how hard they were working. And they also told me that they didn't get health care. And they also told me about how some of them were classified as temporary workers and not full employees with benefits. But what struck me the most was not about all those details that we've heard anecdotally over the years, but also how scared they were to tell me about it. They knew I was a city council person, and they were very concerned that if people found out that they were the ones who told me that there would be repercussions to them. And after reading the IG's report, I can't blame them for the way that they felt. Now, this was many years ago, and we've made some great strides together as a council, this term, last term, and getting increased pay and other working condition improvements that need to be made. And I appreciate the new director who has been working very hard at implementing a lot of the changes that need to be made. We've seen a lot of progress there. A lot of the stuff that we read about is already in motion and getting worked on. So I thank the director for his commitment to that. But what we're doing here today is really to get at the heart of the culture at DPW, to really see how we can improve the quality of life and for our employees, which in turn will also increase the level of service that they provide to the residents of Baltimore. And how we treat our employees really says a lot about who we are as a city. It says who we are as leaders. And so that's why it's been so important for us to really fight for these workers. And before we begin this hearing, and we're going to break this hearing down into a few different parts, and we have a lot of different people who are going to be speaking, and anybody who's here from the public who wishes to testify will be given an opportunity to do so. But I would like to request a moment of silence in memory of Ronald Silver and Timothy Cartwell. Thank you very much, and may their memories be a blessing. First off, I'm going to turn it over to Council President Cohn for remarks.
I want to thank Chairman Schleifer for convening today's hearing. Thank you to Councilman Glover for leading on this issue as well. Thank you to Mayor Scott for investing in DPW after decades of disinvestment. Thank you to Inspector General Cumming for the incredibly thorough and comprehensive report that she and her team produced. Thank you to Director Khalil Zaid for his decisive leadership in confronting longstanding systemic management failures at DPW. Director Zaid inherited an agency in crisis, and he is working hard to fix it. Thank you to the AFSCME and CUB representatives that have joined us for your advocacy on behalf of all of our municipal workers. Most of all, though, Thank you to the DPW employees who are here today and watching online for the incredible work you do for Baltimore. Know this, you are public servants of the highest caliber. You deserve to be treated with dignity and have your safety taken seriously. The Inspector General's report makes clear that for years, DPW's leaders failed to protect you. To put it bluntly, they didn't care. Referring to frontline workers, the former head of the Bureau of Solid Waste said, they can be replaced. According to the IG, between 2019 and 2024, there were 6 deaths and more than 1,600 injuries at the Bureau of Solid Waste. Let me repeat that. 6 people died and over 1,600 injuries occurred while these women and men picked up our trash. Amidst the filth and the grime, in the heat and the cold, they kept working. During the pandemic, they couldn't stay home or socially distance. Too often, the voices of workers were ignored. The culture of contempt and cruelty must be driven out of this agency. This city council will not allow our sanitation workers to be treated like they are expendable. In many cases, even recently, workers lack basic necessities like proper uniforms, gloves, and boots. In some cases, DPW failed to put essential policies in place, despite the severe impacts of global warming and the fact that workers were getting sick from heat exposure. DPW didn't have a heat policy. DPW lacked standard operating procedures for how injuries on the job were to be handled. When we visited sanitation yards, council members saw buildings full of broken HVAC systems and moldy, unusable bathrooms and lockers. The IG also reported that employees were not trained properly and feared retaliation if they reported complaints or concerns about their working conditions. Supervisors were not prepared to lead and support their workers. Now is the time to create and sustain a safety culture throughout DPW that empowers all workers to identify and report risks before they lead to injury or death. Today, the council will ask our witnesses to explain how close we are to having such a culture and what specific measures still need to be implemented to create it. I remain grateful for Director Zaid for taking this beleaguered agency and the hard work you are doing to fix it. I've seen real progress under your leadership, and I look forward to lifting up not only the continued challenges, but also the successes today. I'm grateful to Mayor Scott for making long overdue investments in trucks and sanitation yards. Finally, let me say that sanitation workers provide an essential service to every household in our city. As mentioned, in 2020, Councilman Schleifer and I fought for a pay raise and healthcare benefits for some workers who were making as little as $11 per hour. We won that fight, but what this report makes clear is that it's not enough. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I look forward to all of the testimony of today's witnesses.
Vice Chair Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to my esteemed colleagues that are here, the chair, director, also to the DPW family, to the unions, mayor's office. Just want to say thank you guys for being here this evening to this very, very important conversation. Just want to give you guys a little bit of history about DPW and also what I've witnessed, being here on this council. If you don't mind, let me just give you a little bit of history. And the history is this. So we're coming up on the anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King, this April, 4th. Do anyone here know the reason why Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated and in reference to what he was in Memphis for? By a show of hands, do anyone even know? So is it feel okay? Yeah, so he was there fighting for the death of 2 sanitation workers. And I feel like it's so near and dear to me that we continue to carry on his legacy over 60 years ago that he fought for these men, women, and people. And it's our duty as a council that we continue his leadership here in the city of Baltimore. I sit back and I think about, over 25 years ago when I started in DPW. Even when I first started, I came through YouthWorks. Young, I wanted to clean my neighborhood, which I was born and raised in, with the school. And I was fortunate that when I got out of Patterson, there was the apprenticeship program, and it allowed me to come into the Rat Rabbi program, which is in DPW. And at the age of 21, I was so excited about going out to get my CDLs, and I got them through the city of Baltimore. I was happy to go through my neighborhoods, to blow that horn of that big truck, to show folk, man, look what I got, man. I got my CDLs, and I got them through the city of Baltimore. But it helped mold me into the person that I am today. And through the love of my community and for my city, it pushed me even further to fight for the men, women, and people of the Department of Public Works, and it urged me to come join this council. I fought hard. There were some tough losses in the beginning, but we're here now. And I also understand that if there's no struggles, there's no progress. And the struggles are over, but we still have a whole lot of work to do. And the reason why I say that, because over 25 years ago, I remember we were getting 15 cents added on an hour for hazard pay. 15 cents. That means if you're working an 8-hour day, that's like $1.20, right? Throughout the week, that's $6. What is $6 of hazard pay to the men and women, people of the Department of Public Works? This is 2025. And you got to correct me if I'm wrong. They're still getting 15 cents an hour. We have to change that narrative. So when I speak, it's from the heart. It's from me knowing. It's for the men, women, and people that say, you know what, we finally have someone, an ally, that is on the council that can be our voice. And as long as I'm here, because what Dr. Martin Luther King did, he died for 2 sanitation workers that went out there to fight for better wages, for the rights, for fairness, that I'm going to do that while I'm here on the council. But we're going to do it in safe conditions. So again, thank you all for coming out this evening. We have some questions for you guys, but we need to make sure that if we're not the pilot, that we become the pilot to show how we can change this city around here in Baltimore. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also recognize Council Vice President Middleton, who has joined us, Councilwoman Ramos, Councilman Gray, Councilman Dorsey. And so just want to reiterate the process on how we're going to hold this hearing. No different than previous hearings. When you do come up to testify, you are talking to the council. This is a city council hearing, so any questions, comments should be directed to the council members up here and not to anybody else in the audience. And so it's just important that we follow that decorum. We're going to have different sections. We're going to start off with a presentation from the Inspector General on the very thorough report that the Inspector General's office dedicated a lot of time and effort to producing. The council will then ask any questions that they have to the Inspector General, and then we will proceed and follow the suit with the various other presentations that we're going to be receiving today. So without further ado, Inspector General, please hit the right button so your mic lights up red.
Good evening, Chairman Schleifer, Council President, all City Council, and also the citizens of Baltimore. I have to
Okay,
mention.
time out. Pause it. You can't be up there.
Can you hear me or not?
No, we can hear you. Just If you want to take any media wants to take any pictures, you can be back there. You can even take a picture from the side, but you just can't come past the dais, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to present the results of the ongoing investigation into the Department of Public Works. My name is Isabel Mercedes Cumming, and I am the Inspector General of Baltimore City. And with me is Deputy Inspector General Matthew Neal. The DPW that the Office of the Inspector General encountered earlier this year is not the DPW of today, in that progress has been made. That is due to intense scrutiny of the media, the public, the candor of the DPW workers, and the response and leadership of the DPW director. However, the DPW of June of '24, first reported by the OIG, is the same as the DPW reported by the Office of the Inspector General in December 2019 to the public. In that report, the OIG had an employee in my office work undercover in the Department of Public Works in the sanitation department for almost 3 months. And that report found urinals out of order, sinks inoperable with no water, alarms going off with methane gas, water fountains that were inoperable due to contamination. The OIG found a toxic work culture and a lack of training. The response from the DPW that the OIG received from, at the time, Director Chow in December of 2019 said, the report raised serious concerns about the state of the solid waste facility. The report specifically notes urinals, sinks, water fountains were inoperable and gas leaks. The safety of the public and our employees is my top priority. We have received estimates from contractors for repairs and are working with DGS to schedule and identify funding for those repairs. This report was issued, but no one, including the OIG, stopped to prioritize this report and department. No one stopped to really listen to the workers. And just 4 months later started COVID. There was a lack of priority given to our workers, which continued to work through this time period. And as time has progressed, the routes have continued to get longer. Industry standard is 950 stops. Baltimore DPW is averaging 1,166 stops. We are all to blame, including myself. The lack of priority has been a huge issue. For example, when our city received $641 million in ARPA money, only $15 million went to DPW, when over $100 million was requested. The facts speak for themselves. The same union was represented these workers in these obviously subhumane conditions. Where was the outrage? Where was the follow-up? CUB union issued a report. But where was the laborers' representatives? The employees reported none was there. Why did it take workers not having water to finally say no more? These workers were surviving with horrible conditions in plain sight, enduring abusive culture like the male workers having to ask for toilet paper and not being given proper equipment for months. We still had vehicles without air conditioning at that time. They truly were the forgotten department, and they had to endure it because they had no choice. The lack of training, the lack of water, the lack of Gatorade, the lack of cooling stations, the lack of representation, the abuse of supervisors who had survived the abuses of being a laborer and then without any type of supervisory training became the abusers. The disregard by the medical clinic staff that was supposed to evaluate their cases, yet over and over again, the OIG learned that not even physically examining, evaluating, or listening to these workers. The most important thing the OIG has done is to give these employees a voice to push back the curtain. The OIG interviewed over 130 workers. We listened and we verified. That is what our last report was about, the decades-long culture that has been allowed to flourish unchecked. The lack of health care by so many workers is a perfect example of not understanding the employees. The fact that 134 workers did not have either health care insurance nor the $2,500 health care waivers is a fact. The OIG actually spoke to over 40 of them. Many thought that they did have health insurance. None realized the waiver even existed. Most thought it was automatic. To change this, the OIG sent out 134 text messages to each worker, not once but twice, and spoke to many. The numbers dropped down to 36, so you see things can change. You have to understand the worker and you have to be willing to invest. The sad reality is that the DPW solid waste worker is injured daily. As you heard, the facts show that between 2019 and 2024, there were 1,627 injuries and 6 deaths, 2 this year. This is the 4th deadliest job in the United States of America, and there has been an overall lack of safety training. For example, there was no heat training in 2023, and only 6 of 21 supervisors received virtual training in 2024 at the time of our first report. When the OIG questioned workers, we got the same story. You will be disciplined if you were injured and did not report it immediately. Many workers reported going to the hospital themselves rather than risk telling a supervisor that their injury was not reported immediately. DPW leadership stated that they were unaware that this incorrect instruction was given by supervisors. The OIG learned that there have been no leadership training or performance evaluations in the past 2 years prior to our first investigation. The most important thing to these workers was their pay situation. They all know that their hazard pay is 15 cents an hour. And those employees told the OIG that that amount is a slap in the face, considering the real hazard they face on their jobs. Needles, guns, animals. It is nonstop. The average laborer makes $43,000 and drivers $52,000. The number one thing employees wanted was better pay scale. Their starting pay is $40,670. Our report is over 40 pages, and with the attachments, it's over 200. Believe me, I could go on for much longer. But I must urge this body to start putting our central city workers in the department as a priority. We had done 5 reports in 8 months, with 1 more report next week. This path has been laid out. Please focus on safety and salaries for our workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the work that you've done on this report and for your presentation. I'll now open the floor up from any of my colleagues that have any questions for the Inspector General.
Thank you, Madam IG, for your report. As I said in my opening statement, there is an overarching question that we need to answer in this hearing, which is the Bureau of Solid Waste a safe place to work today?
I'm going to let my deputy answer that.
Please push the button.
I'm going to turn that over to my deputy.
Thank you, Council President. Like the Inspector General said, progress has been made, but there's still much to be done. In our report, we outlined numerous recommendations, the first being higher salaries for the workers, including the hazard pay, as well as better training for on-the-job better training to prepare them for their jobs, as well as safety training so that employees, supervisors understand the injury process, as well as the risks that they're being exposed to, as well as health insurance options being continually discussed during the enrollment period, as well as when they're hired, and giving them the option to either select the city's health insurance or to take the $2,500 waiver credit. Also, formulating and reviewing trash routes that do not include stops that are in excess of the industry standard. as well as ensuring that the facilities receive the funding that they need, specifically the East Side Transfer Station that would be built on the land where Bowley's Lane currently sits. That would allow trucks to dump the trash there rather than make more trips to the landfill. And then there'll be a more increase in efficiency for the routes, as well as ensuring that drivers complete their pre-trip inspections for the vehicles, and that maintenance for the vehicles is maintained. As in 2024, we still had vehicles in the fleet that did not have air conditioning. There has been an influx of new vehicles to the fleet, which is where a lot of the ARPA funding went, and that has decreased the vehicle's age significantly, as well as soliciting the feedback from the workers. The most important is to listen to the workers regarding the risks that they face, the training that they want to receive. Numerous workers were willing and were interested in obtaining CPR training, so that they would be informed if a medical emergency would to occur on the route, as well as seeking feedback regarding equipment and also formulating root cause problem solving groups and pilot test groups that could then proactively address issues, and increasing outreach from their HR department to the workers themselves. As when we spoke to numerous workers, they felt they had not been heard for years. And then also the creation of a light duty program. Due to the increase of the injuries and the significant number, there becomes a majority of staff that are left to only work light duty, and there's not a clear return to work process for the workers. So formulating a light duty program would make that very clear of what that process is to return to work, as many workers express confusion from not receiving a physical evaluation from the clinic to then returning to light duty, and then being unclear on what the process was to actually return to work. So there's been significant progress made since we began the investigation in June, and there's still much more that needs to happen to ensure that the workers are protected moving forward.
Thank you, Matt. Inspector General, your most recent report found, as I mentioned, that between 2019 and 2024, there were 6 deaths and over 1,600 injuries among workers in the Bureau of Solid Waste. In your presentation, you discussed the types of injuries present among the DPW workers injured in 2024. Can you tell us what some of the main causes of these injuries were, please?
Yep. You want to do that one? We actually did a chart that had the breakdown of the different types of injuries. We have that. The one thing I wanted to add in addition to what Matt said was I do believe that an important part is learning how to de-escalate, learning about the stresses that occur at DPW, and having the ability to work with EAP. I think there's a lot of trauma that has existed with the workers at the Department of Public Works, and learning how, through training, learning the best way to de-escalate situations so that this can be a more conducive department that works together to try to find solutions. Because when you deal with everybody one-on-one, you learn so much. But the reality is, this report took us 8 months to do. It would be impossible for other people to try to do the type of thing that, was done. So I think the ability of teaching the supervisors the correct way and learning the leadership and learning to de-escalate will really help improve as well. So those numbers are.
Yeah, so we did a deeper dive into the injuries in 2024. So there was, of the 293 injuries, 154 were specifically from Bowley's Lane and Cherry Hill. There were 41 sprains, strains, or tears, 19 cuts or lacerations, 18 contusions, 17 inflammations, and 11 heat illnesses. And when we looked at the injuries, the workers' comp claims come with a cost. Over that 6-year period from 2019 to 2024, the city paid out 15 million as of now in relation to that. And when speaking with the workers, what they continually brought up was the physical aspects of the job where the repetitive actions take a toll, even if an injury claim's never filed. The repetitive actions of lifting the trash cans, putting them into the truck, it takes a toll on the workers as well as their families, whether they suffer a disability later on in life or they encounter an injury that then impacts their ability to work. The ripple effects are felt throughout, their family.
Thank you for that. And Madam IG, I will just note, you talked about both physical and mental health. When we passed the Healing City Act back in 2020, which mandates all city agencies receive trauma-informed care, the one agency that pushed back at the time was DPW and said, essentially, there's no trauma here. We don't know what you're talking about. Again, I appreciate that there has been significant change in leadership within this agency, but I will never forget just being absolutely stunned by that comment, knowing that we have some of the most traumatized workforce in our city in the Department of Public Works, particularly in sanitation. My last question for you, Madam Inspector General, is DPW doing what it needs to do to reduce the rates of on-the-job injuries and to prevent deaths among solid waste workers? In particular, is DPW effectively addressing the risks such as heat exposure that have been among the most prominent causes of worker injuries?
I do think that the training aspect, we can't have training that's, because what we found earlier was when, for instance, when they had the heat training for the supervisors, and this was when we started our report. Like I said, 6 of 21 supervisors attended the heat training. Of that, nobody left their camera on because it was virtual, and the trainer couldn't not figure out why some people just stayed on afterwards. Well, that's because they most likely weren't there to turn off their camera. So I do think it's very important that when we have training, we also hold them like we hold ourselves accountable. You must report in, you need to show up, and then you need to also have a training that is relevant to the people in understanding who you're talking to. I mean, I went to some of the training and it was really hard. And I mean, I didn't understand some of the things they were saying. So, I mean, I think it's very important that you keep things at a level that everybody can understand, because I was not a bio. I don't understand that the Celsius and the heat index and all of that. We need to keep it so if your legs start to cramp up, that is a sign of heat illness. We need to keep it at that type of level because that's what matters. Because it's like, great, you have a degree, but if you're not smart, I really don't care. And if you don't have a degree, but you're smart, then I care. So just having training to check off a box and not making it effective means nothing. So, I mean, I think the most important thing is reaching back to these hard workers and asking them their thoughts. Because I can tell you, they will tell you, and it's starting now under the new director, but actually finding out what the people who work there actually think about things. And yes, you might have liked the new jacket, but you might not realize that the battery only lasts 2 hours, and you might not realize that, if it gets wet, you can get electrocuted. So there's some issues that needs to be completely trained and completely spoken out. And I think always remembering who your target is what will make this effective and what will make this safe. Because safety comes from all of us, and we have to do better. Is there anything I left out? Mm-hmm. No.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Matt, can you go through those numbers again one more time with the breakdown of the injuries?
Sure.
And also, what period of time is that for?
So from 2019 to 2024, DPW reported having 1,627 injuries, 6 fatalities during that time. And it's also important to note, too, that this was recently ranked the 4th deadliest job in America. But in 2024, there were 154 injuries between just Bowles Lane and Cherry Hill employees. And approximately at those yards, there's about 350 employees total. So that's roughly half the workers suffering an injury during the course of 2024. There were 41 sprains, strains, or tears that were diagnosed, 19 cuts or lacerations, 18 contusions, 17 inflammations, and 11 heat illnesses. There was also punctures due to needles and other sharp objects. We've also spoken to workers who've been burned because of hazardous waste being disposed of in the trash, and then a battery exploding on their face and on their shirt. And these are all the hazards that sometimes don't show up necessarily in the numbers, but when you speak to them and you listen to the experiences, it speaks volumes.
And this chart is, you were all given a handout. Show the front of it, no, the front, it looks like that. So it's that chart that we just told you is in there. So you can follow in there too.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. In your report, do you have a breakdown of like how many of those injuries could have been prevented if they had the right equipment and supplies? Because I know like when you talk about some of the cuts and you talk about some of those items, like if they had proper equipment, some of those items wouldn't happen.
That's a great question. One of the things we recommend in our report is that DPW work with risk management to conduct a safety analysis, and that would be a great thing for them to dive deeper into, to look at, to see what exactly the workers needed that would have prevented some of those injuries. And we made that recommendation in the report.
Gotcha. Okay.
We also made the recommendation about making sure they have the proper equipment, such as when we recently went out, many workers didn't have gloves, and it was very, very cold. Many of them aren't able to get boots. Many of them will tell me that they're wearing an outfit that they got from somebody else because they have not been given the proper uniform.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Council Vice Chair, do you have a
Thank you, Mr.
question?
Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Madam
Isabel.
Isabel, it's fine. And Deputy, thank you
Matt's
for being here.
fine too.
All right, Matt. And I'm Tony, that's fine. Anyway, thank you guys again for the report. I noticed in the report, you talked about trash routes in your report, and you also stated that how they are spent longer, like doing the job, than the industry standard. What are we doing, or what has been implemented so we can make those changes?
As far as changing the routes?
Yeah, the routes
I think
and
that,
stuff like
I think,
What is it?
I would think the director will probably answer that question.
Okay.
Because the Office of the Inspector General, our job is to shine a light on the situation. You are all the action holders. So there's only, my office doesn't have the ability to change things, because otherwise I would.
Well, did you implement any of those changes? Like, did you send anything over to the director in reference to what you think needed to be?
They've all gotten all the reports.
And to add more context, that information came from a vendor report that was done for DPW in January 2022.
Okay.
And that was provided, that showed over 83% of the city's trash routes were above that industry standard. They also reviewed the recycling routes, and DPW did implement changes to the recycling routes to equalize them.
All right, cool. Thank you. That's really all I had, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President, do you have any questions for the Inspector General?
Not for the Inspector General, but
Okay.
for the Director.
We'll get to that. Councilwoman Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Inspector General, one of the things that you reported on before was the issue around supervising, and sometimes some of the workers were denied toilet paper, Gatorade, all of that. Are you seeing improvement in that regard?
Well, as far as the the toilet paper and everything, that part was at Bowley's, and that has actually been corrected. They actually have had toilet paper installed, and that has been working. The early things that we found, as far as the water and the Gatorade, that has been happening since we did the second report. And the one thing I think everybody's realizing is that we keep coming back. So, I mean, and we will keep coming back this summer as well. And it's just a matter, and so far in that aspect, they have been getting that. So that was a very positive change.
So it sounds like they're trying to work on the supervisor training and some of the basics there, but there's some, still some things to.
The supervisor training, that is a very complicated issue in that they have been in supervisory positions without ever having leadership training prior. So, like I said, having talked to many, many workers, sometimes, when you are on the back of a truck, there's almost, it's almost like we all get like an initiation type. And sometimes it can be a very difficult job. And so when some people move up, they remember how difficult it was for them, because I can't tell you how many times we heard from certain supervisors that they did not have air conditioning in their day. And they certainly were given water or Gatorade. So learning that, things have changed, the world has changed, and we have to keep up with it. That is a culture change that will take time to happen. And the more training that can happen as far as learning how to be a better leader and learning how to work with people, and like I said, de-escalation, so important, to learn what is truly an important issue and what is just drama at the time. And all of that is what has to happen over time. And I do believe that's what they're working on.
Thank you for that, and I just want to thank you for your dedication to this. Your continuing to go back is extremely important, and that's, a lesson, I think, for all of us to make sure that we're monitoring this situation and really a lot of others, because our sanitation workers are basically, keeping us healthy, frankly, and deserve the best. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Gray. No. Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The issue of pay is very real.
Very well.
You brought this up, Councilman Glover brought this up. And it's not just, what is our starting salary, which was brought up, $15.50 an hour and $40,000. But there are problems related to pay increases over time, what the structure is for that. The hazard differential, 15 cents, hasn't been updated in 30 years. Right? These are all things that have been discussed. You bring them up. As well as things like heat stress standards, workplace violence standards, collaborative training. I guess the thing that I want to make sure kind of goes into the record here as kind of concerning to me is in the report. So your report it's dated March 5th, but it's actually dated February 13th. Is that the right date? Which is noted in the DPW response that they got it on February 13th. And their response is dated March 4th, right, the day before this report actually came out. So when we talk about the difference between conditions that existed in June 2024 versus the conditions that exist today, I want to make sure that I think this is actually very contemporary in what's being reported when it's being reported. And there is seemingly a considerable effort here to kind of rake the union over the coals at the end of this report. And some of it seems really questionable as to why it's in this report in the first place. But what I don't see in here at all is any mention of whether or not any of these things that you're talking about were actually brought up by the union. I see a lot of disparaging kind of comments about the union representation, but no mention here. In the putting together this report, did you find that the union had actually asked for any of these things to be bargained?
That's a great question. As far as the union, this is an independent report done by the Office of the Inspector General, and what the information that we provided is what was given to us by the employees. We asked the employees a series of questions, and we asked about 130 of them. If you felt a disparaging feel about the union, that is because that is the disparaging feel we were given by the employees about the union. So the OIG tried to reach out to the union, and at one point in time, we brought an employee in from the union, and we interviewed him about certain matters. We then tried to look, because we were told by many employees that they didn't understand where the money was going and what the union was actually doing. We tried to reach out to the union, and in fact, we gave them a subpoena to give us the financial records involving the union. We received not one, but 2 letters from their attorney telling me that the Office of the Inspector General does not have jurisdiction over the union, which I am doing a report about the Department of Public Works unit, the Department of Public Works workers. So at that point in time, I was not doing, the union became part of it because the workers mentioned it so often. I was trying to find out what was true, what was not true. The union stopped me in trying to do that. So if you felt it was disparaging in my report about the union, that is because that is what the workers told us. The union, besides helping us when we tried to find out when the meetings were, how they were doing it, we were told quite adamantly by their attorney that we did not have the jurisdiction to do that because there are other federal agencies that do. I took his advice and I actually forwarded the information to the other agencies. So that is what I have about the union, and there's not much on beyond that I can report right now.
Okay, well, look, there are things in this report that go well beyond asking workers things. It very clearly does talk about things that the OIG asked Local 44, but it doesn't say whether the OIG asked specifically if Local 44 has asked to bargain on any specific items whatsoever. And in fact, Local 44 has been asking since last summer to bargain on the matters of matters such as the longevity scale for pay increases, the starting pay at $15.50 an hour, which can't compete even with Chick-fil-A or Amazon. This is something that clearly the union has been asking to bargain over. A study to address the scale of change and the pay compensation hasn't been brought to the bargaining table. The hazard differential is something that has been asked to be bargained. Request for heat stress standards, request for workplace violence standards, request for collaborative trainings. All of these things are things that have been sought by the union to be bargained and that haven't been bargained. And I think that if it's fair to say that you asked for pay information, which I happen to agree is outside of the scope of what the OIG should be asking for, then I think it's fair to say that you also didn't ask if the union had asked to bargain on these things. That's my comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for the IG's office? Nope. Okay, do you have any closing remarks,
My subpoenas did not deal with the pay. My subpoena dealt with the workings of the labor union, and they chose not to respond. I cannot be fair to someone if they chose not to respond. That was their choice.
Okay.
If anybody has any other questions?
All right, well, thank you very much, Inspector General, and your team for the great work on this report. We'll now proceed to the next part of the hearing. I will turn it over to the Director of Public Works. If you can start, if you don't mind, also just introducing some of your team that's with you here today. and then
Absolutely.
go
We
to-
have Deputy Director Matt Garbach. We have Christine, our legislative person. We have Latoya, who is our Chief of Staff. And we have our bureau head. Introduce yourself. She's going to be talking about quite a lot.
Yvonne Moore Jackson, Acting Bureau Head for Solid Waste.
Okay, you can begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Schleifer, Vice Chair Glover, Council President, honorable members of the council, and residents of our city. As the Director of the city's Department of Public Works, I stand before you today with a deep sense of responsibility and unwavering commitment to ensuring that the safety, well-being, and the dignity of every member of our workforce. Workforce safety is not just a regulatory requirement, it's a moral imperative, and we take that seriously every day. Today, we will be reviewing with you the 5 cornerstones of our plans for solid waste. First slide. Sure. To go all the way to the front. Next slide, please. We will be discussing today the 5 cornerstones, as I mentioned: standing operating procedures, training, fleet and infrastructure, management and leadership, and culture. Next slide, please. The standard operating procedures, we have 3 that we're looking at right now and we're planning on implementing. They're called Stress Illness Prevention Plan, Accident and Incident Notification, and Heat Illness Prevention Plan. For the accident incident notification, this is a formalized standard operation procedure for how to deal with these incidents. And as it does, it makes it very clear for all of our employees, in case of an accident, what you need to do. Call 911. The additional one we're talking about is the Heat Illness Prevention Plan, and that is, we're looking in multiple aspects of it and trying to employ that. One of the main things is to start early in the day, shift the work to 4 a.m., and that's need to be discussed with the union. Mandatory breaks, hydration, and acclimatization. As we discuss this, in accordance with the new MOSH guidelines, with the new guidelines with MOSH, we are required to go with additional SOBs, and that we are working on, we're about to complete. Environmental monitoring SOBs, which is to monitor the heat index and monitor the mandatory breaks. Heat acclimatization SOP, and that is for the workers that we have, the new workers and the workers that are returning after spending more than 7 days out of works. This is to allow them to adjust into the increasing load of work. And individual site plans. This is going to be site specific, so every site within the Solid Waste Bureau will have its own site plan. It's looking at the manage heat, hydration, recognizing heat stress, and mandatory breaks. Next slide, please. We have the summer operation plan update. DPW has a comprehensive summer strategy to guide employees to safety. We have developed a pre and post trip inspection, and that's focused on the AC in vehicles. We have mandatory heat illness training, mandatory breaks, mandatory supervisory check-in with employees, acclimatization for new employees, potential early start pending union discussions, and hydrations. Next slide, please. Enhanced training and employee development. We have developed quite a lot of training. According to the OIG report, we have done 73 since June of 2024. We have done civility in the workplace, winter preparedness training, CPR, digital skill training, which is strengthening the technological proficiency of our employees, slips and trips and falls, trauma-informed care, equal employment opportunity, anti-retaliation training, and I think that's very important, OSHA login training, explore incident accident procedure, heat illness refreshment, and workplace violence. Next slide. We additionally have management and leadership training, and as you can see, we have accountability in the workplace, family medical leave, grievance and workplace violence. I want to mention one at the end, which is the leadership pathway. DPW has partnered with DHR to pilot a new leadership program. Our solid waste supervisors are scheduled to be the first cohort. Next slide. Enhancement of DPW infrastructure short term. The picture that you see up there right now is one of the trailers that's coming into Bolles Lane. This is gonna serve, this is just a picture that's taken a couple of days ago. And the trailer is gonna be serving as a temporary place while we doing the work on Bolles Lane. We'll be doing the bathrooms, and we'll be doing also the locker rooms at Bolles Lane. So this is gonna be holding the employees while the work is being done there. We have similar thing we're gonna be doing for Reed Bird, but Reed Bird employees will be relocated to another location during the construction that is projected to start late this summer. The next slide, please. Now, this slide, I think it represents a lot of the investment that the mayor has made for solid waste. And if you look at it, actually, you could see the difference in the right-hand side of the graph compared to the left side of the graph. And I want to emphasize, in addition to that, while you see some increase in the year 2000 and in 1995 and 2000, that increase was landfill expansion. While the increase that you see on the right-hand side of the graph, this work that has been done on facility and workers related. So the investment that you're gonna be seeing is related to a lot of the work and a lot of the places that the employees will be located in. There is an investment of roughly $29 million in phase 1 and phase 2 in Bolles Lane. The design will be completed at the end of this year, and construction will start next year. We have around from $10 to $12 million on Reed Bird. This work will start late this summer, and we have also $48 million will be worked on Kane Street, and again, this work should start late this summer as well. Next slide. But this is not related only to the investment the administration and the mayor has made, not only related to the building itself, but the fleet. Our fleet right now, as the OIG indicated, it is one of the newest since a long, long period of time. I can't imagine any time before that we had a fleet with such new vehicles in it. And you could see that investment on the right-hand side to show you that type of investment. In 2016, the average age of the fleet was 7 years. The average age of the fleet right now is around 40 years, and it's gonna get lower and lower. Next slide, please. That's only not, the slide that you've seen before was for the load backers. I'm looking now at the street sweepers also. You can see the investment in that alone. And the street sweepers for the city of Baltimore will be one of the newest also. So the age of the fleet will be less than 2 to 3 years old. Next slide. Enhancement of our fleet. We have only trucks that are equipped with AC will be operational. So we're not going to allow any truck that is go on the road without having an operable AC. All vehicles inspected for heat, AC, and other primary functions. We're going to acquire 800 megahertz radios for every load backers. We're working with the fire department to acquire these radios to have them on the trucks for our workers. And we're also going to have we have already charging cords for trucks purchased to receive to ensure that Rubicon devices, the phones that are on that truck, does not lose power. Next slide. We're actively seeking feedback from our frontline workers. We have employee management committee meetings. We have leadership safety steering committees. We have frontline safety steering committees. We have accident review board, citywide employee voice survey. We have Speak Up DBW flyers. We have included as part of the orientation for our new employees, half-a-day orientation for them to learn about the difficulties in managing how to deal with those tight alleys in our workforce. We have DBW is working with the fire department also in chaplaincy program to start in DBW. That is something that's going to be different. It's going to be new. And we're working also with the labor unions to collaborate on safety and culture. But finally, I'm pleased to announce that the mayor FY26 budget will include a salary increase for our solid waste workers. The specific amount and the scale is subject to negotiations with our labor partners. But the administration has been working with the Department of Human Resources and the Budget Bureau to make sure this pay increase is a priority despite the budget constraints we face as a city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. We'll start with any questions from the Council President.
Director Zaid, let me ask the same question I asked the Inspector General. Is the Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division a safe place to work today?
Solid waste, it is in much better place right now than I would say a year ago. And we're working very hard in order to implement all the needed safety requirements. We have done a lot of training. We have done a lot of communications. We have done improving the working condition for our employees. We're improving and we'll continue to improve. We're not where we need to be, but we're going to get there to where we need to be.
So, come back to that in a minute. Just to set the stage, though, I know COVID has had a profound impact on the agency, as it did, frankly, most of our city government. Can you explain how COVID changed solid waste collection processes in Baltimore, and what were the effects these changes had on the safety of workers in the agency?
I'm going to have a member of my staff who was there during the period of time with the city to answer this question.
Okay.
Thank you, Director. Matt Garbark, Deputy Director for Department of Public Works. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for that question. That basically, as we all saw with the COVID-19 pandemic, overnight, the world changed, literally, just about. People went home, people started social distancing, people started working from home, and literally overnight, we saw a 10 to 15% increase in tonnage of refuse and recycling. Trash and recycling that used to be collected in commercial spaces and in schools and other places were now entering the municipal waste stream. This additional amount provided a constant weekly strain on all of the working conditions. As we went through that period, other functions had to be curtailed or suspended, and the sole focus became the trash collection, just to make sure that we were having a health and safety issues were met. This was a huge strain, as you mentioned. they couldn't social distance. They can't work from home. Every day employees were showing up.
Yep.
We had a tremendous amount of turnover, and I think the director may mention this, upwards of 60 to 70% of some of our experienced, seasoned workers who could help guide other people who help know the ropes. And as we started getting new recruits in, it became harder and harder to keep that workforce and harder to manage that daily load, which cascaded, which got everything just strained to truly breaking points.
I just could add to that as well. It is, if you refer to the OIG report, page 15 and 16, it shows that 275 employees has been terminated or resigned since 2021. Looking at that as a number, if we're looking just at the drivers and the laborers, that's roughly 67% of the drivers and the laborers plus the SMAs that we have. That has been, if you add the management piece and the supervisor, that is 82% of the workforce has been either terminated or left since 2021.
So I know you've made many changes in terms of safety throughout the agency, but assuming that not every deficiency has been resolved, can you share with the council the 2 or 3 most important safety improvements that you still need to implement and a timeline for when they will be implemented?
I think most of the safety measures, the SOPs, the heat, illness, and all of those issues, we will be done within, like, we have a meeting with the union scheduled for next Tuesday, and we're hoping to finalize most of those SOPs. I think the most difficult part is to dissect and to get to is probably the fact is the communication piece and is the interaction that we have to make between the employees, the laborers, and the supervisors level. I think that is the thing that is we're working on and is probably be the hardest thing to deal with, but is we're working on, and with all the training that we're doing, I think we'll get there.
I'm going to push a little bit on that. Through this report, through previous reports, and just through talking to the workforce, it is clear there was a significant breakdown between supervisors and frontline workers. And it seems like there was a culture that was allowed to fester within the agency, within the leadership ranks of the agency, that led to people getting hurt, people being disrespected on the job, people's injuries not being taken seriously. Specific to that issue and the significant divide between frontline and supervisors and management, this is something we touched on last hearing. I want to know specifically what this agency has done to fix that problem.
We are working extremely hard right now to get our supervisors that we have right now to understand that is times have changed. And what that means that is, there is a generational gap between the front lines in many cases and the supervisors. As the Inspector General has mentioned, there's a lot of those folks that have been there before. They have done it in a certain way, and they believe that is, listen, I worked in Lord Packard without an air conditioner. Why are you complaining? Those are the kind of issues that we need to break. Those are the kind of issues that we need to teach. Those are the kind of issue that we're gonna have to work with our supervisor to make sure they understand that is times have changed and we need to get to the point where we need to get to by making these things work.
Yeah, I know there's always a battle between efficiency and just respect and kindness and treating workers in a way that we would want to be treated. And I think in speaking of the workforce, it seems like some strides have been made and there is still a long way to go in this agency. The last thing I want to ask, the heat policy, you mentioned negotiating with the union. So Baltimoreans, DPW sanitation workers should expect that when? When do you expect that to be wrapped?
Definitely before their training to be scheduled. We're hoping that to be done, to be completed within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Council will, of course, check back in on that in about 2 to 3 weeks. I'm just going to close and pass the chair by saying, as the chair mentioned, we fought really aggressively with the previous administration over pay raises during COVID. The pay that some of our temporary workers were receiving was shameful. It was as little as $11 an hour, non-unionized, no health care. So the council is very glad to hear that the workers will be receiving a pay raise. That is extremely important and has been important to this council and the previous council. I'm going to let the chair ask some direct questions about that, but I do just want to note that the way we compensate people speaks to how we value them or do not, and this is a workforce that deserves to be valued. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And so Director, on that same note, we were talking about the salary study, and, when we were working on this years ago and continued to push for better raises and bonuses for the workers, we had learned that, this has been an ongoing, decades-old issue of not giving the workers the raises that they need. So they're really far behind. You had mentioned in your testimony about the study that was done. Can the council get a copy of that study?
I'll leave it up to this. And I can get back to you with that. I don't have that study myself, so I don't have access to it.
Gotcha. So who's in possession of the study?
I mean, I would assume that DHR.
Okay. So that will be a committee request to Nina to get a copy of the study for the council. So I assume you were briefed on the study, right? So
I was not.
you was not. You were okay. Because so you're not sure like what the appropriate. Because I know we were talking about some of the salaries. Do you know what the appropriate amount and the going rate is for workers today in 2025 in solid waste?
I do not, but I understand that the study that is done is in line with the market. That's my understanding.
Gotcha. So if that's implemented, that would catch us up to 2025.
Again, I haven't seen the study myself, but is my understanding that it would do that.
Gotcha. So, I mean, I know we're on the same page that, it goes without saying that it's extremely important that get implemented. We, as council members that get a variety of calls for hundreds of different services, there is no service that touches our constituents more than solid waste. You're in front of everybody's house twice a week. And so, that function is, goes without saying, is the most important function that we have in city government. If that function was not being provided, we wouldn't have a city if trash piled up. We saw previously what that looked like, even when recycling was piling up, and we just can't allow that to continue. And I can just tell you that there is no better way than to take care of the workers, make sure they're paid appropriately, make sure they're treated well. And I'm glad to see a lot of these improvements that you've been implementing. When we went out to the yards, it was great to see some of the plans of what this administration is committed to implementing and what's in the works. It's long overdue and the workers deserve that. And we're here to support that, and we will continue to push for that. But we do expect and want to see that gets fully implemented, that they're not met halfway, that they're caught up to where they need to be. That is the only way to move forward, in my opinion.
Working with our people, working with the employees, working with the frontlines, these are some of the hardest working people that are out there. And it is with great pleasure to announce that today. And I think they're deserving always of all the compensation that they needed to. And I'm hoping that this study or this increase will be putting things in place for that.
Gotcha. All right, thank you very much. Vice Chair, do you have any questions?
I just want to kind of speak about also, we've had many, conversations, Mr. Director, also with the team, and I do see the implementation that you guys are putting forward to make sure that the city workers are getting what they're deserved. I got to give kudos to the administration because I think from what I've seen from the years I've been with DPW, just being part of government, I've never seen any mayor put that much energy and money into a department to make sure that we get this thing fixed. I mean, he gets it.
He does.
He really do.
Yeah.
And I want to thank the administration for that. And just to let the city workers know that, I've during those conversations, during those visits, I seen the implementation of, I think signs went out to the yards, that if you see something and say something, where you can remain anonymous and you can have that conversation with those department heads downtown and remain anonymous if you want to talk about some things that's going on in the yards. Because there is an app you guys created, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it's in every yard, correct?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay, and have employees been using it so far since the last time we had a meeting?
Yeah,
Do you
I
know-
think they have been using it. And we want them to use it a little bit more than what they do because
Okay.
we wanted that. But again, that is creating the trust between us and them. And
Okay, and I just wanted to reassure, to the city workers, and I don't want to just talk about DPW workers, I want to talk about employees that work for the city of Baltimore, who we greatly appreciate, that if you do see something, to say something, but just know that you have an administration and you have, a new council that really care about the men and women that work for the city of Baltimore. We really do care. Everyone should feel like when they're going to work, they're going to return home to their families, including us on the council. So I just want to make sure that the implementations that we're implementing for these workers, that we're making sure that we're putting our best foot forward to make these things happen, and just to the workers to let you guys know and to ensure you that we're going to continue to fight hard on behalf of you guys. So your voice will no longer be unheard. I've been in your shoes. I feel what you feel. I see what you see, and I understand it. So just want to make you guys know that, my colleagues, we're holding them accountable. They're holding me accountable. We're working together. We're here together for the benefit of you guys. All right. So one of the questions I do want to ask, I know I heard you mention that you're trying to sit down and negotiate with the unions about the 4 a.m. How is that looking so far?
so this is part of the discussion we're having with them on the heat standards and the SOP. And one of those issues that we're recommending, it is during the summer months between June 1st and September 30th, is to start the work day around 4 a.m. in the morning. We know we have a noise ordinance that we have to take care of as well. I know that speaking to the employees myself in the yards, they were very much in favor of it.
Okay.
I want to mention though, and I want to set expectations here as we talk about it. The new MOSH requirement, Maryland Occupational Safety and Health, the new requirements are going to make things a lot more complicated. What I mean by that is going to change the delivery of service that we do on a regular basis. It is the requirements, if the heat index reached 90 degrees, that is every employee that is outside will have to take a 10 minutes break every 2 hours. And with the heat index reach 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that is every hour will be a 15 minutes break. So that will impact the workforce, will impact the work, will impact a lot of the issues that we have to do. So I want to make that very clear. That is, it's going to slow things down, but for the benefit and for the safety of our employees.
Okay, thank you. But I also want to make sure that we're pushing forward that hazard pay has to be, way much higher than 15 cents an hour. We must implement it to the point where, again, they're picking up the items that none of us want to touch.
Absolutely.
And they're not just one of the hardest working individuals in the city. They are the hardest. I've done that job. And that's why I ask over and over again that, my colleagues, you guys in the administration get on the back of one of those trucks. Not just on a beautiful day, but on a day where, you know, the rain, the sleet, the snow was coming down, because that trash has to get picked up in those conditions. And I need us to all feel it, you know, the same way they feel it, so we can get a better understanding why these young men and women and people deserve the money that they deserve. We say that they're the fourth,
Deadliest.
dangerous job.
Yep.
I mean, let's give them the fourth highest pay in the city. I mean, they deserve it. It's really, really important that we take care of those that are taking care of us. So again, you know, thank you for your time, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll start on this side. Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Director. You talked about talking to frontline workers. Deeply appreciate talking to frontline workers. I heard Councilman Glover ask specifically about the progress of union negotiations. Am I correct? Yeah. And I heard you say you're talking about heat standards, but is that you're talking with frontline workers, or is that you're talking with the union about that?
We're talking to the union about it. We're going to be discussing this issue with the union. The moment when I said it's going to be taking us 3 to 4 weeks after speaking with the union and going over the union, and we believe that the union should be representing the people at the same time, it's representing the employees. After we're done with that, one of the meetings that we do have, it is the management frontline employees, where we go over all the issues that the employees has, the frontliners have, and they meet with the bureau head, and if they have any issue that they needed to address, we'll address it. We'll make sure that the next meeting that we have, that is after meeting with the union, that is the heat illness plan, will be discussed and will be went over with the frontliner as well.
So let me just make sure I have a good level set here. When the union communicates a desire to bargain and what they are seeking to bargain over, it makes these communications and things that they want answers to. They want DPW coming to the table prepared with answers on specific subjects. Do you see those requests to bargain yourself, and do you see those requests for specific items yourself?
We have members of my team that meets with, and members of the labor commissioner meet with the unions. I met with the union twice, and we talked about safety and safety-related issues. But in terms of bargaining, I have not seen it.
Okay, so when the union contacts the department 2, 3, 4, 5 times over any given period of time and doesn't get a response, or doesn't get, when they maybe finally do get a response and then say, okay, here are the things that we want to talk about, can we talk about these things, and doesn't get a specific response to those things, whose responsibility is it that is falling down, that they're not getting a response about wanting to bargain? Because I know that while it is the case that we're a couple sessions into bargaining at this point, that this bargaining request to bargain began last summer. And I mean, you're not going to disagree, right? No bargaining occurred over the fall or the winter. It's only just recently begun, right? So whose responsibility is it to actually respond to a request to bargain?
It's the Office of the Labor Commissioner leads the bargaining for the city of Baltimore as a whole, for our unions as a whole. And our departments, or our members of my department and other departments in the city, are a supporting cast for that.
Okay, and so when you're receiving a request to bargain over things pertaining to your members, is there somebody in your staff that says, this is important to not your members, to your employees? Is there somebody in your office that should be taking the initiative to say, clearly, the representatives of our employees, the leadership of the union, is reaching out to us on behalf of their members to discuss serious issues that they want us to discuss with them, is there somebody in your office who should be saying, well, then we need to go and talk to them, rather than let's put it off and not respond for months and months at a time?
We respond to any request that comes through the labor commissioner. It comes to the labor commissioner. The labor commissioner send the information. Usually a lot of these requests come out as citywide requests. So the requests coming from the union, not necessarily specific to DPW, but a citywide citywide aspect of it. And we get back to the labor commissioner, whose responsibility is negotiating with the union and dealing with it at that time.
So you only respond if you are specifically asked to engage by the labor commissioner?
It depends on if it's, as you said, if it's a bargaining question. You want to add anything to it? If you have a bargaining question, that is something that the labor commissioner will lead, because I don't have the authority, or anybody from my department have the authority to bargain at that point.
Councilman, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure, and for the record, Marvin J., I just want to make sure that we're not conflating two different issues here. That there is the request to bargain that is required to go through the labor commissioner's office. And then when there are issues that are presented by the union, in which can go directly either through management and or the leadership of the mayor's office. I just want to make sure that we have that clarity, because right now what we're talking about is scheduling a request to bargain, which must go through the office of the labor commissioner to actually set dates for the actual negotiations, versus actual issues in which management and the mayor's office is able to respond to.
Yes, my concern is that when a request to schedule bargaining comes in July or August or September, and there's no response to a request to schedule bargaining until January, that's not acceptable.
Right, and so what I would say in response to you, Councilman, is that, of course, the Office of the Labor Commissioner works with all of our union partners to be able to set a productive schedule for all of our union partners across the board, whether it is CUB, whether it is ASME, whether it's FOP, any of our union partners. We would agree that we have always a strong desire to be able to respond and set a schedule as early as possible. However, though, just for the sake of the 40,000-foot view here, is that we do have a requirement to be able to make sure, as of course the Office of the Labor Commissioner has a requirement to bargain with all of these units, that we're able to set a productive schedule for all of them. And sometimes that does not come into a play of which can be set directly during the summertime or anything, or any date earlier. And so it is not a thing of, here's what I will concede to, is that there should always be productive communication coming from any of our offices that are tied through the mayor's office, just to be very clear, but to make sure that we are kind of being clear in response, that it is not a desire not to set a scheduling date. However, though, it is more or less about making sure that we're able to productively put this in as far as in the scale for all of our unions.
Totally heard. I will defer to a panel that's yet to come here. I look forward to hearing from our unions as to whether they believe that the communications have been productive in responding to the union's request to bargain.
Yes, sir.
I think that sounds like it's the crux. Are the communications productive? And so we'll leave that for the AFSCME and CUB. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Gray.
What is the current process for employees or supervisors to report injuries, incidents, or unsafe working conditions? And I know you briefly touched on it, but how are incidents and injuries internally documented and reported outside of your recommendation of simply calling 911? Also, how do you capture or classify the level of severity when reported?
All right, so when it comes to the reporting, calling 911 is only the first step. Then after calling 911, what is the expectation of the incident, accident reporting? It is the employee will call in. If he has a radio, will call the control one, which is the internal dispatch for DPW. Then that internal dispatch will then call the safety officer. In case that there are no radio there in the truck, then the phone will be used and call the supervisor. The supervisor themselves will reach out to dispatch or control one, and then control one will call the safety officer. The safety officer will report to the site and take the report and have an exact access or exact description of the incident at that point.
And all those injuries, incidents, or unsafe work conditions, are they being reported to MOSHA or to the union?
We have a log 300. That is, we have to, every incident, every accident, we have to take account of it. And what we have done since we found out there is a lot, we don't have a good track of that, we're having people, their job only to document these informations and put it in place.
Okay. Can you tell me how many work-related injuries have occurred in the year 2023 and 2024? And I'm asking not only about just simply work-related injuries, but also how many of those actually ended up in hospitalization.
I don't have that, but we could get that to you.
Okay. And could you define hospitalization as how do you define hospitalization? If you say someone hurt themselves and they went to the hospital, is it simply a hospital visit, or do they have to stay overnight for you to? Overnight. So we're not even counting if someone were to get stitches, if someone were to, get hit by a car and they don't have to stay overnight, they go home. That's not being reported as a hospital visit, as a hospitalization, correct?
Hospitalized, yes.
Okay, so I do have a committee request. Can DPW provide data on injury reports over the past 5 years? And please include the following, and it's a long list, so. The year, the department and job role, the severity of the injury or incident, the hospitalization, and if you have the information, hospital visits, how many were reported to the union and or MOSHA, and what corrective action has been taken to address the active dangers. And I'm asking for this because this doesn't only concern me when it comes to just DPW workers. If we have this type of issue where we're not reporting hospitalizations that are just simply a visit, if we aren't reporting out to MOSHA or to the union, I don't think that's just a DPW problem. That may be a DOT problem, that may be a DGS problem, which means that is a city of Baltimore problem. And if we can't take care of our workers, our frontline workers that are here each and every day, we cannot expect a renaissance or anything for this city to be as great as it's going to be. So I think it starts with DPW, but I also will look to my fellow members to dig deep in other agencies as well to make sure that when something happens, not only are we reporting and not underreporting, but we're also reaching out and reporting this stuff to OSHA and to union representation so we can have the correct actions to correct these incidents, because if we aren't reaching out to the appropriate folks, this will continue to happen and we won't change the way that our frontline workers are feeling. If you feel like you're getting hurt and if you're only counting hospitalizations as overnight, there are untold hospital visits that are happening each and every day that our members are experiencing that are not going reported. And if that's not being reported, their safety is not being reported. And so that is a huge issue. So if we can have that as a committee request, I'll repeat that again if you guys need it. But I think that is a start to actually making change. Thank you.
All right,
Mr. Chair.
Thank
Chair.
you very much.
I just want to make sure that
Marguerite got that. We will absolutely take the notes on the request, but they need to come from you all. Got it, okay.
Council Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I concur with all of my colleagues and all of their questions and statements. And so I just want to talk a little bit more about training. And one takeaway that I picked up from the IG's report is that the training needs to be better, and it needs to happen in layman's terms. And I also picked up that the unions need a seat at the table as you're planning and working on all this training. It boils down to communication. I understand that meetings have to happen through the Labor Commissioner's office. We're in a new era, and there needs to be other avenues of communicating with all agencies through that our unions are responsible for. My first request is I would like a record of the meeting dates in 2023 and 2024 that you have had with the unions or have not, but I think we need to see when you have been meeting with the unions, point blank, and pick up from there, because it is the law that you have to bargain with the unions and their representatives, and they deserve a seat at the table, especially when you're talking about safety and training. The IG mentioned that, you know, she attended some of these trainings, and she didn't even understand some of the language or, you know, the simple things. So you need the representatives at the table. The representatives are not there every day, you know, but they need time to have a seat at the table, not just for salaries. Salaries are very important, and I'm glad you're looking into that, but they need a seat at the table for the training. And in my eyes, it's you could also think about a strong apprenticeship program with solid waste. It can happen. You have an opportunity to work with the State Department. They have state reps, and that's their job to help put together proposals with the union. You need all these people at the table as we're trying to make changes, so these deaths won't happen again. I'll let you comment on that in a minute, but I also picked up that, you know, we went through a terrible period of COVID. We also went through a terrible period of trying to get our workday process together, which really affected the employees, particularly sanitation, because a lot of them don't have access to computers and so on. I don't know any update with that, but you know, that's another important piece as we're trying to settle and get higher salaries. They have to have access to Workday. And also, are the supervisors finally being accountable? What are you doing now that wasn't done in the past to make the supervisors accountable that are treating their employees terribly? You know, if they need to be fired, they need to be fired. That's simple. This is how you kind of start to clean up and continue to move forward. I appreciate you, Director, for taking on this task and coming in. I know you from, your past history here with and very reliable, noteworthy person with your team. But we are really looking hard now, as the president continues to mention, and I'm ready for your comments.
Yeah. So I'll start first let's start with the last question first about accountability, right? And one of the first things we looked at, and you brought up a lot of comments in the reports about leadership and the leadership that we have. And the first thing you start with is with the leadership, the management, and making sure that we have the right management to deal with it. And we found out that we probably need different people. And we have 4 levels of management that we have. And I'm telling you, we change all 4 levels before we're heading to that level. So we had to go that deep in order to get to where we needed to get. Now we get to the supervisors. And to the supervisor, the mid-level workers or the mid-level supervisors. It is at that point that is our responsibility to make sure we give them the opportunity by training, give them the opportunity to get better, to give them the opportunity to get on board. And if they don't, then they're not going to be a part of this organization anymore. It has to change. The culture has to change. It's a culture of safety. I remember in the meeting that we had, the city council president brought the new council to Reedbird. Every member's there. And I remember a conversation that is Councilman Dorsey looked and he mentioned something about a book. And the book said The Power of Habits. And looking at that book, I just took a note of it. And then I went and I bought the book and I read the book. And one of those issues, it is about a company that has had a lot of injuries. And they brought a person in that is Mr. O'Neill, I guess. Brought Mr. O'Neill on board, and Mr. O'Neill looked at the culture of that agency and decided that he's going to have safety as the center and the corner of that agency. And everything that is going to be revolved around safety. And with that, everything around that, because the employees recognize their importance, they recognize everything that they do, even the productivity and everything that is going on got better. So making sure you value your employees, and we do value our employees with that. You mentioned something about our discussions with the unions. And I have 4 meetings with the unions, 3 to 4 meetings with the union myself since probably September of last year. And the reason why we're delaying the implementation of the heat safety program, luckily we have time before the temperature get there, it is to make sure that our union representative, our union partners get the chance to look at it, review it, be on board on it, have any comments on it. It's completed as far as we're concerned. We need their input on it to be part of the solution as well. Taking that, after that, will be taken to the frontliners to look at it, review it again, and if there is any additional comments on it, we'll add that to it.
Do you have a problem giving us a record of the meeting dates that have taken place in year 23, 24?
We can have, if we have those dates, yes.
Tyler, you got that down? Thank you. Councilman Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continuing from the questioning that I had in the last hearing that we did, I guess, last year, one of the things that I had asked for was what's the feedback loop? What's the complaint loop? What happens when a worker is having problems with their supervisor or wants to give you an idea about, something that's going to happen? I still haven't heard that we've gotten through that in terms of figuring out, how workers can be heard. Like, what exactly is the process? Whether it's a complaint or whether it's an idea.
I mean, I could start with, it's face-to-face. My phone number is probably 50 to 60 employees in this, in solid waste have my number. Any person that I come in and I go visit, and I visit often to the facilities and to the yards, and people have my phone number and they could come. And I could see the difference right now from what I have seen in the past. At the beginning, when we started going to these, people look at us as, trying to stay away. Now people are coming. They're talking to us. They're telling us about certain things that they do. They make recommendations. One of the things that we deal with on a regular basis, and I talked about it briefly, that we have a frontline committee meetings, and we have a frontline management meetings on a monthly basis. So the intent of having the frontliners get together because they get comfortable asking the questions and coming up with the recommendation that they want, that they could take as a body to the management team, that they meet with the bureau head and ask the question that they needed to ask.
What about when, if we have a situation like we had last summer where somebody is rationing, there's a supervisor rationing the Gatorade? We're hearing that may not be the case because there's been some work there. I'm just using it as an example. And a worker's not comfortable going to their supervisor. So they can come to you directly? Do they go to Director Jackson or Moore Jackson? Do they go, what's the loop?
The first thing that they have is everywhere with the speak up style, which is they could just go ahead and call in at that point.
Oh, there's a number, there's like a report
Yes,
number.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. Okay.
And they could have that, and it's every door, everywhere, that they could do that, and they could, get to the point that they needed to get to. If it's not, there is a supervisor, then there is a superintendent, and there is a division chief. And if they all fail, then we have a problem.
Okay, so I didn't know that there was that call-in number, and I'm glad to know that that's the case, because that does help if you've got signs everywhere saying, give us a call. And, when was that implemented?
It's probably in September or October, I would say, something like that.
Okay, last fall, so you acted on that immediately?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. And I think I want to give it a little bit of time, but we're going to probably ask for some of those statistics about what you're hearing from the line and how many complaints you're getting as a baseline, for the first 6 months. And then figuring out from there, I would just be curious as to what the types of things. Actually, I'll just ask it now. That's a committee request that we'll get the first 6 months of the hotline, the number of complaints that you're getting and the types of complaints. And that will be our baseline, I think, to really understand improvement. So I would appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm sorry if I missed the report about the hotline. The second question that I have goes into the summer plan you had mentioned. Could you go over again what are the temperatures and what action is going to take place? It sounded like if there's 90 degrees, they can take, a break every 2 hours. If it's 100 degrees, it's another break. I guess I'm curious if you could supply that for us in writing so that we know what that's going to look like and can also, be a part of, seeing that it's happening. But also, isn't there going to be a threshold for when, for instance, we cancel, after school programs when it's, too hot or too cold or whatever. So is there going to be a threshold where we just have to say it is just too hot for our guys to be out there?
Yeah, we might have to take that decision internally. However, there are no requirement. The Maryland Occupational Safety and Health didn't have any shut off for any temperature at that point. However, we're going to be monitoring the heat index. We're going to be monitoring things. And if we find out at one day, that is, at one time, that is, we need to shut down the operation, that's a decision that we'll have to make.
Got it. Okay. Because, I think that's something that we should think about. Not that we have to have 10 days without trash pickup. I think that would be a challenge for our residents. But I do think that people see our sanitation workers and really feel terrible that they're in such a terrible situation. So I think that's going to be important. And so the last thing related to that is, are the, what's going to be the sort of monitoring that the heat protocols are going to be followed? So you've got the heat protocols, the training, so are there going to be people going to each route just to kind of see that those are done? What exactly is going to be that monitoring situation?
So we developed a plan that is, when the temperature gets to a certain degree, let's say 100 degrees, that is, they're required to take a 15 minutes break every hour. At that point, the plan is for the supervisor to meet at specific locations with all the crews that he or she supervises at a specific location. The intent of that, to make sure that we have so many different eyes on those employees. If someone is suffering, someone have issues, that we have more than the crews that are with them on the truck locating that. Does that affect the productivity that we have? It will affect the productivity that we have. But it's something that we think that is absolutely necessary to have everybody at some point, to make sure when we said somebody needs to take a break right now, everybody needs to be taking a break at that specific point. And we're gonna be holding they're gonna have to have the drivers sign off at that point that the supervisor came in and was there with them at the locations, and they have taken the breaks for the 15 minutes break that they needed to.
Okay, I'm going to have to understand that a little bit better. Maybe I can take it offline, but I think that it's important that we have that oversight, to make sure that those protocols are followed. I'm not sure that taking everybody off the route at the same time makes sense, but I don't know if I understood that correctly.
Remember, when we talk about it, we're talking about all of these people will be within 5 to 7 minutes away from each other, because
Right.
every supervisor is responsible for a specific area. So at the most, probably be 8 to 10 minutes. And when I'm talking about, this is to make sure everybody takes it seriously. This is what we need to do to make sure everybody takes a break at a specific time.
Okay, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate that there's been some real work done here, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from our workers to understand a little bit more about what they're seeing and hearing, and if, because it would be very interesting. And I enjoyed the site visits, and I will continue to do that as well. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two things quickly. One, we bought pizza. I know this is a long night and a lot of folks came here after work. So if anyone wants dinner, pizza is in the room directly across the hall. Director, I want to pick up on a point that Councilman Glover made about just the need for direct connection with the workers. And one thing I'd like to challenge you, and Councilman Glover has made this challenge to our colleagues as well. Would you and your leadership team be willing to do a ride along with some council members as well as frontline DPW workers to see what that experience is like?
And I've done one already, but to add to that, I'll be happy to do that again, absolutely. But I've done it already.
Excellent. And your management team as well?
Most of the we have a brand new management team here, so I think we'll make sure that all my management team do that as well.
Great. I would like to just have a day where council members, your team, we all see what it's like Councilman Glover said.
I did, and it made me appreciate, really, and I've done it once or twice before in previous life, but is doing it this time at this age, and realizing that we had some people in their 60s working and been doing this for as many years and doing it, it made me understand, and it makes me more appreciate of what these guys were having. And I'll tell you something, not only that we're having hard-working people, but we have also, during this past 6 to 8 months, developed relationship and personal relationship with many of them. And we have leaders. We have leaders in those groups that one day, I hope, they'll be holding my seat. And they'll be leading this organization and taking it to the next level and having the understanding that they do. We have good people in DPW. We have excellent people in solid waste.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My staff will hook up with yours
Absolutely.
to get that scheduled, as well as council members. So I appreciate that commitment from you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can I drive one of the trucks?
I'm sorry?
Can I drive one of the trucks?
If you have CDL.
Okay. I can ride with you. All right, I'll do that. Yeah. No. I got you. That's my side of town, so I'll be there. Any other questions for DPW? Vice Chair?
It's not really a question. I just want to just make sure we acknowledge the men and women, the people that are out there. So all the DPW, workers stand up. Just want everybody to see you guys. And we want to say thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you guys. Yes. Thank you. And just to let you know that, the Attorney General, she has your back. This administration has your back. This council has your back. And we're going to continue to make sure those doors are open for you when you need to come in here. So we're like chiropractors. We have y'all back. All right? Make sure we're going to make it happen. So just know that we're here for you guys. Thank you, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council for DPW? Okay, we will proceed to the next part of the agenda. I'll now ask our labor leaders to please come up. So you guys can have seats up here, and then as you're ready to testify, you could either testify from your seat or you can do it from the podium. Okay, when you get started, if you can state your name, your title, which group you're affiliated with. Each one of you will have 3 minutes to make a presentation, and then we will take questions from the council after the 3 of you have finished your testimony. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Patrick Moran. I'm the president of AFSCME Maryland Council 3. We proudly represent 50,000 public service workers across the state, including 2,000 in Baltimore City with AFSCME Locals 44, 558, and 2202. Thank you for the opportunity to address the investigative report on the Solid Waste Bureau and provide an update on our members who work diligently under tough conditions on behalf of Baltimore City residents. Last year was incredibly difficult for our union. As you've heard, we tragically lost 2 brothers within DPW in preventable line of duty deaths, Brother Ronald Silver II and Brother Timothy Cartwell. We also lost Brother Davis Martinez, a state parole and probation agent, in a tragic murder that occurred last May in Montgomery County. These deaths could have been avoided, and AFSCME is committed to preventing such tragedies in the future. In Baltimore City, AFSCME Local 44 members went on strike in the 70s for better working conditions and compensation. Unfortunately, Baltimore City banned the right to strike for city employees in 1976. This means that when negotiations with the administration reach an impasse, we are left with a non-binding fact-finding process. Other Maryland municipalities and counties offer binding arbitration in these situations, and we hope to work with this council to fix our broken bargaining process in the city. Had our members had stronger options to address their concerns over the years, we might not be facing these issues today. And let me be clear, at every single bargaining table, in every single instance, we ask for increase in hazard pay, increases in base pay, only to be told no by the city. Why would we not do that? That's just for the workers behind us. That's just for every working person in this city. And it's far for me to say it, but I can almost guarantee you, at this point, with the horrible conditions in DPW, I think workers, if they had the right to, they would strike the city because they deserve to do so. They deserve to leverage that power and use that power. This is why we have to work with state and local legislators to secure protections when we're unable to achieve them at the bargaining table. In 2020, AFSCME won legislation to create the first heat stress standard on the East Coast. The standard was finally enacted on September 30th, 2024. Had it been effective 2 months earlier, it could have saved Brother Silver's life. We hope the city will negotiate a heat stress policy with us before this summer, which they have not done yet, and we've asked time and time again. That will cover all of our members. Our union has also taken several steps to improve working conditions in recent months. We've held health and safety meetings and trainings with specialists from our national union. We've held health and safety committee meetings with mixed results with the city. We hope the city will come prepared in the future to those meetings. We've conducted facility walkthroughs with the council, DPW, and experts from the University of Maryland School of Global Environmental Occupational Health to assess conditions and provide feedback. We are currently pushing for statewide legislation to ensure that Baltimore City is held accountable under Maryland's occupational safety and health laws. We've increased our presence at work sites, providing more communication to our members and distributing contract books with instructions on how to report violations. There's still much more work to be done. We are committed to working with all of you here, with the administration and DPW to ensure our workers have safe working conditions that they have a right to and that they have earned. We have focused on building, training, and empowering our shop stewards, who are the first line of defense to protect our members' rights on the job. In a culture where dissent is often discouraged, our stewards sometimes face targets on their back as they work tirelessly and thanklessly to represent their colleagues, all while continuing their essential work for the city. Their efforts are the foundation of everything we do, and we owe them a great deal of gratitude. Council President Cohen, Chair Schleifer, and members of the committee, we thank you for your continued commitment to providing oversight. Together with these efforts are crucial for holding DPW accountable. I now will turn it over to Local 44 shop steward Anthony Weish, who has worked for DPW for nearly 30 years and is deeply familiar with changes we're working towards and can speak to our recent negotiations with the city. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Hello, my name is Anthony White, and I have worked at DPW for 30 years. I currently work out of Reberry Yard in Cherry Hill. I'm a shop steward and executive board member of AFSCME Local 44. I'm here today to acknowledge the good and the bad. The good, we appreciate the City Council's continued support of our members dating back to the pandemic and through these oversight hearings. It is important, and we appreciate being here tonight with you. The leadership of the council, president, vice president, as this committee, including the chair of this committee, as well as Councilman Glover. We have now seen DPW at the direction of the Scott administration begin to act in response to the death of our co-workers. This includes some more training and more investment in facilities and vehicles. However, as we have been doing site visits across DPW, other agencies, we continue to see problems. I've seen a lot of problems over the years, not until the death of Ron Silver and Tim Cardwell had the city begin to act. Our union, its members, shop stores have brought safety concerns to management for years. We complained to supervisors, management about the facilities, vehicles, and the conditions. We told supervisors that we needed water, Gatorade on the truck. However, management did not take our complaints and demands seriously. This isn't right. The department and the city did not bargain with AFSCME this summer and fall when we demanded to bargain over the death of our members. The city needs to bargain health and safety with us and not simply implement what they think is good. They must put training as well as other safety measures in our contract. Our low pay remains far too low. We know and have asked at the bargaining table for increases pay in form of longevity increases, greater COLA and hazardous duty pay. At our previous negotiation, this was rejected. We asked for increased pay because we know our jobs are hard, but also because of compensation studies and the data, this means our members are 11% or more behind, and that is wrong. I'm here to ask City Council and our allies to stay with us, support us to make DPW and the city to do right by us. It will take all of us to hold them accountable and bring justice to our workers. Thank you.
So, hello. Good evening, Council President Cohen and members of the committee. My name is Todd Reynolds. I am a resident of the city, Council District 5, and I'm also the political coordinator for AFT Maryland, the state federation for City Union of Baltimore, that's AFT Local 800. CUB is the union for thousands of city employees working in numerous city agencies, including but not limited to the city's Department of Public Works. Within the department, CUB represents numerous different classifications. In the Bureau of Water and Wastewater, we represent a number of water treatment center facilities employees, and we also represent water meter readers. In the Bureau of Solid Waste, CUB represents the mid-level supervisors. We've submitted written testimony, so allow me just to highlight a few points. Sadly, we must state that working for Baltimore City is one of the most dangerous jobs in the nation. According to the OIG report we just heard, over the past 5 years, DPW has experienced a staggering 1.3 injuries per workday. In our own study, though, which began after a CUB member and DPW worker Trina Cunningham died in a workplace safety incident back in June of 2019, we found the city had been cited by MOSH for workplace safety violations between 2012 and 2022 over 330 times. Nearly 1/3 of those violations were in city DPW. These are not minor infractions. They are violations that put workers in immediate danger of serious injury or death. So after that death of a CUB member at the Patapsco Water Treatment Center in 2019, AFT undertook a project of delving deeper into workplace safety issues for city employees, culminating in the report that I think was referenced in the OIG's report in 2022. Beyond the discovery of the numbers cited above, one of the components of this project was to visit our members at their work sites, to talk to them about their working conditions and to be sure they knew their rights. The departments we especially concentrated on were not just DPW. Responses from administrators to our presence at these sites were mixed and dependent upon the department itself. The Department of Health and Transportation, for example, were quite cooperative, receptive, and helpful, even happy that we were there. In contrast, at the time, DPW admin threatened us with removal from the premises, even when we were standing on public right-of-way spaces like sidewalks. To talk a bit about trainings, CUB and AFT, also as a result of that safety study we conducted, identified a number of city employees who were CUB members to receive OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 training and certification, so as to have a workforce educated on the dangers they may encounter on a daily basis and how to mitigate those dangers. 3 city employees who were CUB members elected to become OSHA certified trainers, a more intensive program requiring 8 days of classroom instruction. AFT and CUB paid for the members to attend this program, but the leave request to attend these seminars to become OSHA certified trainers was denied by the city. Each of them had to use their own personal or vacation time to attend these seminars. 2 of them are still employed by the city today. One left a few years ago in his employment at DPW because of retaliation and fears of retaliation. With a new DPW director, maybe of the building safety concerns CUB members have had in the past are beginning to be addressed. However, as I believe the OIG report highlights, the need persists for updated, clear policies and standard operating procedures, as well as the resources to regularly train and educate the workforce on these policies and other rights and responsibilities employees have. I'm almost done. Beyond city employees who are already certified to provide workplace safety trainings, city can also reach out to MOSH for trainings, and MOSH will provide these to the city free of charge. I will close by also noting the city has not, again, finalized with its employees' input those heat standard policies, and today is the first day of spring, so it is going to get warm very quickly. And we will implore DPW to finalize these reports. The MOSH standard says that a training should happen before these employees are exposed to this heat. And that could happen any day now.
All right, thank you very much. Council President, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the AFSCME and CUB leaders that came here today. You both had members of your unions die on the job, whether it was related to heat stroke, whether it was in a wastewater treatment facility. Nothing could be more important than the safety of our workers and your members. Can you articulate, I had asked Mr. Zaid earlier, what were the top safety standards that he wanted to look at within the agency? For you all as leaders of labor, what are the most important safety improvements that need to be made within DPW?
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to say that many of the things that Mr. Zaid put up on the screen, we've been asking for months, and they've not been negotiated with the union. We've had discussions about them, but on the heat safety standard, we've been asking that, which is one of our top priorities. We've been asking about that for months. We've been pushed aside, and I don't blame the secretary. Where I put the blame is at the Office of the Labor Commissioner, because that's who makes the decisions, and they fall under the administration. That's where the responsibility lies. If they're serious about doing this, then they would sit down with us in a marathon session and get it done. But they don't seem to be serious about it, and it's unfortunate to say that, but that's the reality. It's disappointing to say that, but that's the reality. So the heat trust standard, supervisor training, driving training, we've had brief discussions about that, but we want a thorough driving. After the death of Brother Cartwell and the fact that what happened to him was totally and absolutely preventable, there should be a very thorough driving training. And they've discussed it, but we've yet to see it. Workplace violence, CPR, first aid training. Heat stroke happens, but if people are trained on how to deal with it and how to address it, that might save more people and prevent more people from getting injured. So we're still awaiting the response to that. We put in a request to bargain about that last year. We were supposed to have a meeting in September. That got canceled. We came with proposals, which I have right here in October, and the city came with no response and unprepared. And that's not acceptable when you're talking about people's lives. That's not acceptable when, as the council person said, it's the toughest job in the city, right? That's not acceptable. So we're still waiting. Having a response. We're going to negotiations soon, and we'll be asking for wage increases as we should, as we do every single time. But also we need to address these health and safety issues. And we want a thorough response. We want responses to our proposals that we've been waiting for months and months and months. Thank you.
Mr. Council President, I'm sorry, will the administration have the ability to respond?
No, I think we're going to have this labor panel. I mean, it's the chair's prerogative, but I want to just make sure we have the labor panel speak first.
Sure. I just want to make it clear to figure out whether or not the rules would be for the administration to respond to anything. If not, then fully understand chair's prerogative.
Well, look, I mean, we agreed, before the hearing that we weren't going to allow a back and forth. And so all testimony has to be directed to the council. And so any council member who would like anybody else here to answer any question is welcome to do so. But that's, we're not having panels or individuals go back and forth. So all testimony is directed to the city council, and we'll decide who when we answer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Todd Cub,
Yeah.
could we get a response on that from you?
These trainings are vital, and I know that it was mentioned in the DPW presentation. It's very good, but we have taken the initiative over the past few years to go to the work sites and inform the members of their rights. If there is under state labor law, if you have a reason to believe you are being asked to do something unsafe, for example, go into an unsecured, unshore ditch, you have the right to refuse that. And members don't know their rights. And so we've had to take the initiative in order to do that. These trainings of what rights exist under the union contracts are important. It would be great to get a training on knowing your rights that are collectively bargained, as well as knowing your rights under state labor law. I think if we had those standard operating procedures and those trainings, and we had an educated, knowledgeable, or knowledge about what the protocols are, we would be in such better shape today. I guarantee it, but we don't. And you asked earlier, is DPW safe? Unfortunately, I don't believe it is.
Thank you for that. Just my last question, and it relates back to pay. Clearly, there has been a problem with our frontline staff, particularly on the sanitation side, both the laborers, the CDL drivers, not being paid enough, not nearly enough compared to industry standard, compared to most places, given that, as Mr. Glover said, it's one of the hardest places in America to do sanitation work. Just want to hear from AFSCME your perspective on challenges with pay increases. Why hasn't that happened?
Well, we've asked for them time and time again. The city's done a wage study. They have the results, they have the figures. We've asked for this study for 10 months now, and we've been told it's coming, it's forthcoming, and it's 10 months later, and we're still waiting for it. And again, I do not put that at the secretary's feet. I put that at the officer of the labor commissioner's feet. I don't understand, this is all public information. Why don't we have it? It took way too long for folks in other departments to get their study done, and this is not acceptable. We should not have to wait, again, for years for this public information to come forward so we can all make an informed decision here, and we can advocate for people to get the money they've not only deserved, but they earned it. They earned every single dime that they have coming to them, and they're not getting what they've earned.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Chief James, I would love to get a direct response on this issue.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Council President. And so first, what I want to say for the record is that the mayor's office has an open line with the union representatives that are here today. I want to be very clear about that, particularly Mr. Moran and Mr. Katzenberg have my number, has the mayor's number, and more importantly, the CAO's number, particularly on any direct issues in which they would like to bring in front of the mayor and or believes of the utmost importance. While clearly, as we are all, we're all busy professionals, I would like to believe that we have a good working relationship to work through the problems and issues that come in front of any of their members that they represent. I also want to go on and say for this fact that there are things that have to be bargained at the table, right? And there are clear dates and there are clear rules into which we're able to do that level of bargaining. I do not want to take issue in which the presentation in which Mr. Moran is presenting it as though the administration does not have a desire to or will not. But I do want to just be very clear that I need to make just a correction that the report is not public information, it is deliberative. And so we have every strong desire to be able to work through all of the issues in which they have presented, and more importantly, to be able to provide them with answers to be able to make sure that we are working towards an environment that is absolutely safe for all of our employees here in Baltimore City.
Appreciate that, Chief James. Just specific to the concern about the labor commissioner, any comment on that?
Here's what I will say in general response. Right, the labor commissioner is absolutely a tenured employee here in Baltimore City. She has been doing this for well over decades. And what I will say is that we absolutely work to be able to make sure that it is in correspondence with the mayor's office, with myself, the CAO, and the mayor to be able to respond to their issues. And so there are certain things that do require time. There are things that require timelines. Oftentimes that might not be in what any union, by the way, has a desire to be able to put through. But once again, one of the things that I've said at the top of this hour, and I'm going to continue to stay committed to as chief of staff here in Baltimore City, is that is there always a possibility for improvement in communications and, more importantly, being able to respond? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. We will not take any assertion of perfection. However, though, what I do want to be very clear about is that the Office of Labor Commissioner works very hard to be able to respond to the issues of all of our unions.
Thank you, Chief James. Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, hold on. You have a question, Councilman Gray?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I asked earlier DPW to walk through incident reporting, and so I'll ask the same of you, Mr. Moran, and of Cub. Please walk us through the process on when an incident or injury is brought to you all. How's that documented? What is the process on a moment that you all get involved on behalf of the worker? And what involvement do you have on a micro level? And by micro, I mean member to member, in supporting your members. In addition to this, can you talk a little bit about how you support members to ensure that they are not retaliated against when they do report?
Well, when a member has an injury on the job, they report that to supervision, right? And if it's not dealt with, they have a right to report that to their shop steward, right, on the job. And if they're retaliated against as a result of that, that's harassment, and there's a process to go through that. And there's a non-harassment, policy, but it's often not adhered to, right? So, and you can grieve that. You can try to make appeal a disciplinary action if that is if you are disciplined for pushing back. But that is the process.
And when that is reported to the shop steward, and they let you know, what do you guys do in response to the mistreatment of our frontline workers?
So if it is reported to the shop steward and is not resolved, and myself, as the president of a 50,000 member organization, I'm probably not going to hear that because that would be impossible. But the staff that deal with Local 44 and is reported to them, it is their responsibility to follow up with the shop steward and the member and then take that to management.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask a question to the mayor's office, please?
Sure.
Thank you. I wanted to just clarify the salary study. My understanding is that it's enterprise-wide, right? It's citywide, that there was a look at all the salaries based on what's industry standards, et cetera. And so can we know a little bit more, and you can give it to us later in writing, sort of the process for implementation of that study, and timelines, as well as when we might be able to see it publicly?
Yes, ma'am. What I can commit to, of course, is that, of course, this is going through negotiations. And what the mayor's office absolutely can commit to is being able to follow through what was the agreed readout and when we start the process. So yes, to your direct question, yes.
For DPW specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm asking enterprise citywide. I mean, I think we wanted that earlier. We got that from the mayor's office, I think, earlier, that we would get some more specifics on the
Can you
DPW
clarify?
side.
You're at, so every agency has a study done every 2 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
So are you asking for every single agency study that was done this year?
Thanks for the opportunity to clarify. My understanding is that there was a citywide study done, and that was going to be sort of the baseline to help us with understanding what the market is basically requesting for all of these salaries, not just DPW. And we had talked about that in one of the budget hearings, and we've been asking actually for that study for a while. And I understand that it's separated into the various departments. If there's a different document that is much more specific to DPW, I think that was already asked for and that commitment was already made.
Correct. And so, Councilwoman, just to once again clarify, as it's already stated, there's one study, but to be very clear that what we will commit to here in this, during this exact hearing, is that we will commit to being able to offer briefings. Give me some time to work with the CAO to commit ourselves to what that actual timeline will be. But yes, we will absolutely commit ourselves to briefings.
Yeah, I had a briefing with DHR last year, and I just had some additional, follow-up because we're about to be in budget. So I'd like to a little bit understand what's actually going to be implemented this year. With DPW is, I think, the first one to be implemented, I believe.
Just to be very clear, as we are in active negotiations.
Sure.
Yes, but
sure,
yes.
Sure. Yep. Okay, and I'll clarify that in writing as well. Thank you.
Please do. Okay, any other questions for our union representatives? No? Well, I'd like to thank the three of you for coming out, for all the work that you guys do for the workers and for the city. And so that concludes that portion. We will now move on to public testimony. When I call your name, please come up to the podium and state your name and give us your testimony. You'll have a few minutes to testify. I'm going to start with DPW workers. I'll start first with Stancil McNair. Mr. McNair. Mr. McNair, if you could hit the right button until your microphone lights up red. You could lift it up so it reaches you. And we'll give you 3 minutes to testify. And please, like I stated in the beginning of the hearing, if everybody could direct all of their testimony to the council. Thank you.
Well, what I gotta say, 3 minutes is a short time, so I'm just gonna make it very short. We wanna thank Ms. Isabel, and we want to also thank Mr. Khalil and his team. But the one thing we not gonna thank is the union. And for anybody to sit up here and take for them and think they helping us, they not. And so I'm gonna put this like this. We came here to trust y'all, but if one of y'all up here is working with them, and I got the facts right here on my phone, while we sitting here, what I'm saying is we came here to trust y'all, because y'all our last hope, right? So while we sitting here, we know, of course, everybody don't know each other, but in the midst of us, the union y'all just sitting up here and he trying to defend is texting him points to what to say to Ms. Isabel. We watching this. And y'all want us to trust y'all? That's why I said that to you in the hallway, because people like him over there, that's taking up for them, they just left out this room. And y'all want us to trust y'all? These people been helping us. If anybody, Ms. Isabel and them, we protecting them. Everybody that's sitting over there tell you that. We protecting them. Because they've been the only ones helping us. When that last hearing, when I told Mr. Clear, who are you? We don't know you.
If you can just talk into the mic so we can hear you.
The last time he was at the hearing, I questioned him because I didn't know who he was. None of us knew who he was. Guess what he did? The following next day, he engaged himself. When I tell the union that, know what they tell us? No, we got this. And they just told me that at a meeting. And know what they told me at the meeting? We just want to thank you for all the work you've been doing, but not once did they help me. And y'all just said, man, he taking up for them? And when he was going at Miss Isabel, The guy that was sitting back there was pushing the points, because my friend was sitting right next to him. I got the text right here. Well, where you go at? He gone, but he was texting him. I got the pictures in my phone if y'all don't believe me. And y'all think we supposed to believe people like that? Him. Texting him. No, because y'all ain't gonna say this our lives y'all playing, but so you wanna play that type of game, you gotta listen to this. Cause this our life.
Yeah, if we can, sir, we heard you, but if you can keep going, you have 1 minute left of your testimony.
No, that's all I'm gonna say, because this is becoming phony. I thought it was coming to something different, that we was gonna be saved, but you got people who trying to take up for the union that don't do nothing for us. They can paint the picture they want to. These are the only people been helping us. I talk to her every day, I talk to him almost every day, her right there. Miss Dene, I can name all the people that help us. They can tell you the same thing. That's what y'all need to be asking questions instead of these people, because they lying to y'all. And we tired of it. That's why we here. More of us came to this hearing than we go to a union meeting. That's sad. And they still playing games. Still playing games. Him right there, he was in the yard with me. When I was doing my rally, I told him to come to a rally with me. Some guy in Boston that worked with the union told him not to come because the union wasn't a part of it. And he'll tell you that's how I got that text. And you think we supposed to trust them? Come on, man. Miss Dovey Brown been gone since March the 1st. Nobody didn't tell us that. But we find out stuff. We adults. People talk. Everything they do, we find out. And guess we was just waiting for this moment to let y'all know. It's sad, man.
Thank you for your testimony.
He helping us, he not helping us.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, Clarence Thomas.
Good afternoon, Council, DPW, and I'm gonna follow behind my brother McNair. It's very hurtful. I'm gonna share something real quick, and then I'm gonna go into what the whole thing is about. 2020, I caught COVID twice. The second time I almost died. I've had guns put in my face, big guns, 357 Magnums. I've been bitten by a rat. Almost got jumped, for various things. These are the elements that we've been dealing with. We wouldn't even consider frontline workers in 2020. The nurses, the doctors, fire department, police department. Y'all keep treating us like bottom feeders. It goes back to Mr. Glover, what he said happened to Martin Luther King when those two people died. Enough is enough. We had enough. I don't know what's going on. And Mr. Khalil, Miss Yvonne, Toya, Miss Demi, even Mike Lucas. I didn't really know who he was. I know he's been here for a while. I got a report, and Matt, I can't forget my man Matthew. But the thing about it is, they listen. This man took an hour and a half, turned his phone off, him and Toya. They came to the yard and they spoke to me. I don't know what the talk is. Miss Deborah Moore, I seen it when I came in. We need to get down to this money. I don't want to hear this. We don't want no 2%. We don't want no 3%. We don't want none of that. I can't even buy eggs. $20. I got 3 kids, a 5, a 9, and a 13. That might not be y'all problem, but that's my problem. When I come pick up y'all stuff and y'all trash, y'all gotta respect us. And y'all don't respect us. I'm not saying y'all per se, but the community in the city of Baltimore, because for many years, there's guys in here that's been here 30 years, 40 years, 27. I got an employee that trained me, and this man got hurt with his back, and he never recovered, and he's still working. They can't even enjoy retirement. And another thing I got a problem with, why we gotta wait 30 years to retire, but the police and the fire department in 20? It gotta change. I'm new, and I've been here since 14. Doing the Freddie Gray riots, I'm not putting up with it. A lot of people downtown, they don't like me. They call me the whistleblower. They call me that, he talk a lot, radio, whatever. I don't care. Show us the money. And y'all been saying that Zeke is Glover. Thank you. Ms. Milton. I'm just telling you. One last thing. We're not going to forget about Ronald Silver, who was my friend. We're not going to forget about Timothy Caldwell, who was my friend. We're not going to forget about Donald Savoy. That was my brother from another mother. 30 years. When I hear a 66-year-old at our rally that Matt and Miss Toya came to, and he said he didn't know if he had to go back to the streets, that he changed his life to come work for this, and he know who he is because he said it and was almost in tears. That brought me in tears. I'm 53 years old. Come on now. Something got to give. Mr. Khalil, I know y'all fighting for us, and y'all really trying to make a difference. So I'm not going to let them attack, but I'm not going to have no cut cards. They, the union, got to get their mind right. I know you guys are fighting for us we got to get our money, because I want that man, when he turns 67, to smile and say he can take his family on a vacation. How can you keep workers or drivers or laborers when they're getting treated like that? That man right there, 40 years, damn near broke his leg. He's still working. We got to stop, man. Enough is enough. We're not back in slavery. And I'm not going to we're doing 2 or 3 jobs and getting paid minimum money. I feel like I'm on welfare. You've had guys that's behind that truck, I could tell you, that called me, that was homeless, that was laborers doing the job I do right now. Y'all don't know that, do you? There's a communication. We got to get that together. All I'm going to tell you is, my name is Clarence Thomas, and I'm not going away, and we need our money. 2025, we had enough. Pay these guys that's about to retire. A lot of them, it's sad, man. It breaks my heart. What do I got to look for? Because I'm thinking 10 more years, I can finally sit down. I've been working all my life. 2 college degrees, ex-military. I served the U.S. Navy. I fought for the United States. And Trump ain't making it no better because these prices are going up. Come on now. This got to stop. Again, we need our money, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all. God bless y'all. Y'all be safe. But I'm going to say something. 2020, remember, Bowley's Lane went down and that COVID hit hard. You know who came and got that trash on this side of town and still had to do Cherry Hill? It was me. And I called COVID twice and almost died. What was the city or DPW going to say to my family if I didn't make it? We brought the city to their knees, not intentional. Don't let it happen again. Put some respect on our name and make DPW great again. I'm out.
Thank you. Thank you for your advocacy. Next up, Mr. Dunn. Did you want to testify?
Can I go in this place?
Yeah, so we're gonna allow all of the workers who are present, whoever would like to testify, we'll let you guys go first. So if you'd like to testify, sir, please come up, state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Reginald Peaks. And just like the brother just said, as far as
sir, if you can just talk in the mic so we can.
Just like the brother just said, as far as not able to take care of your family. You know, and I'm gonna take my time because I get emotional when I get to talking about this kind of stuff. You know, man, it's sad that I have to work overtime, just about try to get so much overtime to make my check look like anything. You know, yesterday, okay, my car was in the shop and I needed my vehicle. My supervisor, nighttime supervisor, asked me did I want to work. I had people call me to get my car out and I needed my vehicle, but I told them, yeah, I'll work. Yes, I'm gonna do the overtime because I needed that overtime and didn't worry about the car. Just because of my check, a regular check, is embarrassing. It's embarrassing, man. You know, I've been back with the city 15 years. I'm not even able to take a vacation to take my family nowhere because I'm constantly want to work. And my mother and father is still here today and say, why you work so much? Take the time off as you got it. They just don't know what my pay look like. Like the brother just said about eggs. I used to get 3 or 4 dozen of eggs. I can just get one dozen eggs. And then I got grandkids that they can't even take their children is in private, go to daycare. I can't even help them with that because of my paycheck. But I get up every morning faithfully and come to work, man. When we had that pandemic with the corona, whatever it is, we came to work, man, and work. I caught corona twice. I caught it twice. 2 times I caught that, man. And I was sad that I couldn't come to work because I know my check wasn't going to look right. My check wasn't going to look right. It didn't look good at all. I had to make a choice what to pay. Make a loan. See, y'all getting paid. Y'all don't worry about that. The union, you ain't worrying about us. Y'all, I didn't even know who y'all was. I asked him, who is the union? Y'all don't even come to our yard and tell us nothing. You know, y'all getting a good salary. You can send your children to college, daycare. We can't do that. We can't do nothing like that, man. This is not right. This is not right. This is not fair. Like the brother, man, not too long ago, I'm in the alley getting trash, and the boy Drugs was in there, and he told us if his stuff gone, we gonna die. But this is what we gotta go through. We gotta go through this kind of stuff and not to get no money. That's not right. That's not right, y'all. Y'all ain't doing us right. All we asking for, man, please help us. Please help us to stay here to work. This is why people are leaving, because they're not getting no money. They come here to get their CDL and they go. Because they ain't getting no pay. I'm 66 grade, 67, where can I go ahead and work? Nowhere. I got to stay here. I can't even be charged. Please listen to me and hear what I'm saying, y'all. Please. Y'all have a conference about this and give us some help, please.
Thank you. Sir, if you can just state your name for the record before you start.
Yes, my name is Reginald Noble. 2022, I was in an alley, Murray Avenue. I slipped up on a drain and I popped my patella. And just thanking God above, I'm still standing tall. Now, the union, I didn't get a thing from them. I didn't get nothing from my supervisors. I was at Bowley's Lane. I'm thanking God that I'm still here to support these guys. Now, we're asking for better, and we deserve better because we're dealing with so much. We need finance. We asking the council, we thanking God for these people that have come forth to support us, to help strengthen us just as the man upstairs does. We're asking the union to be better. Or do we need to look outside of Local 44? We need more for our families. We need more for our children. Thank God that we're still here to support the city of Baltimore, DPW, and all of those who have been hurt and their families that have been hurt. We need more support for DPW. I thank God for this soldier and the rest of these folks that have come out. We're asking for more. We're asking for more. Blood, sweat, and tears. We get up out of our beds 24/7. We come to work. We don't have no guns. We don't have no knives. We have blood, sweat, and tears. We need more finance. Thank God. Bless everybody.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other workers who'd like to testify? Please come up, sir. And just state your name for the record before you testify.
My name is Richard Daniels. I started with the city in '06.
If you can just talk in the mic, because it's televised, so we want to be able to hear you.
Okay. I got hurt in '09. Messed 5 dishes up in my back. Called the union. They wouldn't even give me I went to the union and tried to get a FMLA package. Told me go to my primary doctor. I got the surgery. Told me go back to my primary doctor. Wind up with a triple bypass 3 years later, but I'm still working for the city because I can't get no money. What else can I do? Go back on the bricks? I don't want to do that. Wind up in jail. Please help me, us, all DPW people, man. This union, they ought to shut it down. Today, they need to shut it down today. Not tomorrow, not the day after, today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other workers who'd like to testify?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Victor Lee Butts Jr., and I've been an employee of the city of Baltimore ever since 1989. So you do the math.
Thank you for your
I
service.
love my job, and like most everybody else, we come to work because we got family to take care of, right? Now, I started out back in Cicely Street, wound up down Cherry Hill, Reburg, working on the low packers, right? So I moved from there down to Boston Street. Don't you know I had to take a cut in pay to stay down this yard? After 30-something years, you would think, yeah, say, well, he deserved to keep that pay and deserved to do something easy. I'm 67 years old, man. Thank God I'm finally getting Social Security, because without that, I'll be lost, man. I got to struggle, man, just to make it ends meet. But I go to work every day because, like I said, I got a family to take care of. Y'all know what we talking about. You feel us. You understand? And then we talk about the retirement plan. Good God, my people. Boy, Vic, you've been there over 30-some years. When you going to retire? How can I retire? Off of $1,800 a month? Before taxes? My rent is over 1,000 and something. Gas is like, all that, man. I got to. Look, I always say this, and don't get me twisted. I'm going to have to work till I drop dead, for real. If I'm going to still be with the city. Because it's nothing, man. I mean, it's like, you would look at it and they would talk about it, man, the stuff that we go through. I remember one day working on the route, dude ran us down talking about, yo, y'all threw my stash away. We don't have no police guarding us and none of that stuff. They could have shot us. Not saying that we're doing our job. I'm grabbing trash. I don't know what's in them cans. I'm here to do my job, but this is the kind of stuff that we go through, man. You know what I mean? Y'all, I mean, you get the people that come out there in their little cars and ride around for 5 or 10 minutes, and then they're gone. No, stay with the road. Stay with the truck and see all that we go through, man. Don't just ride 5 minutes and then come back and make up your report. I done had my life threatened, man. I mean, 30-something years, and all I get from the city is a certificate saying thank you for your service for 35 years. I can't take that certificate to my landlord and pay my rent with that. If I don't work overtime, man, look, I remember I worked a flat-out straight 40-hour check, right? And I embarrassed myself because I went back to my clerk. I said, this ain't my check. They say, ain't that your name, Vic? I said, yeah, well, that's your check. Regular 40 hours would hurt me, boy. And then you talking about people did what y'all trying to do to help people now, but that, to me, that's like a slap in the face. 30-some years, somebody coming in the door with 3 or 4 years making just as much as me. I had to take a cut and pay to stay down this yard that I'm down now. 67 years old, I deserve to be where I'm at today. I done gave half of my life running behind up and down the alleys and residential stuff, man. So now I get a little position where I'm laid back. I'm pretty good at doing it. And you gonna make me take a cut and pay? Making $20 an hour after 30-something years? Come on, man. Over 30, going on 36 years, and all I'm making is $20 an hour? And somebody coming in the door right now gonna make 18 to 19, $20? And they ain't even gonna work hard. They ain't gonna be dedicated like I have been. Check my record. See my record tended. I go to work every day. We talking about the COVID. Al y'all was the one when they shut down Bodie's Lane, all of y'all. Al y'all was the one went out there and picked trash up. Yeah, y'all gave it, what you call that little pay thing? That $200 every week. Siphon, yeah. But Al y'all, we was the one out there. When everybody shut every other yard down, we was out there. I was out there. 67 years old, man. And why I still go to work like everybody else, I got a family to take care of, man. And then y'all were talking about, supervising them all, talking about, well, call your union for what? How often do you see a union come to the yard and see what's going on with us? Come out in the field. Only time I seen a union man all years only time they come out is when it's time to vote. They come out with their little pen and their little Aflac duck. You can take the Aflac duck and nothing. I'm serious, man. You don't even hardly see no union representative come out there to see what's going on with y'all. When we get a union, when you get a raise, everything, 2%, we don't get the 2%. We might get half of it. Take 1 penny and cut it in half. We got half, and the rest go to everybody else but us. Yeah. I like to ask the union people, how do the Bahamas look? I ain't never been to the Bahamas. I can't take trips like that. I can't afford them. You know? You give trash fees, you want to charge it, but you're taking out money and stuff like that. That's why I don't go to none of that stuff. I got to take a cut and pay, man. Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Rosalie. Can y'all hear me? Rosalie Wilson. I want to thank the Inspector General for just letting us have a voice in here for real, because I don't know, I just been here almost 2 years, and the biggest thing for me is safety around here. And I don't really, when I first walked in Eastbourne, it was like, it wasn't all about safety. So I'm thinking that's the biggest problem around here is safety. I know it's about the money, because I do need it too, but safety must come first. I think if we didn't have three fatalities around here, 1,000 and some plus injuries around here, I don't think we would have this audience today. So I'm not understanding, you know, about the safety. Now all of a sudden we got classes going on. You know, come on now. Classes should have started when we first came in here. You know, when we first get hired, everybody should go to class, you know, about safety and all this stuff. It's none of that. It's only when something happened. And I'm not understanding that. You know, well, I came from waste management for 10 years. And I drive the front end heavy equipment. So now, you know, we ain't talking about pay now. I don't even want to get into their pay compared to this pay. I don't know if it's second chance or third chance around here, because whoever y'all hire, you know, and y'all just letting everybody on board. Okay, that's cool, that's fine, you know, every second chance, but, you know, y'all got to do better with this. Y'all just can't say, we're going to pay them X amount of dollars, you know, because we giving them a second and third chance. You know, everybody got families. Y'all sitting up here, everybody looking good in suits and all this stuff. You know, look at us. I mean, it's just crazy around here. Y'all not paying us right. You know, so that's all I got to say. But I hope the pay get better. And I'm going to say this about the union. I actually heard him talking about City Hall never responding back to them about no meetings or none of that stuff. So everybody is jumping on the union and all that stuff, but sound like they was trying to negotiate something, but City Hall ain't never respond back to them. You know, so that's not fair to us because we paying them, you know, but they should have let us know, and for real, you know, just strike. You know, it's just like, and I still need my job because I said that, but it's just like y'all said, COVID. When COVID was going on, y'all offered drivers money and all that stuff to stay around. And I'm not understanding why y'all couldn't offer us a pay salary, you know, a pay increase. The money y'all pay, y'all give us that money whenever y'all feel like it, and then y'all want to give it to us. And two checks, so, one check, and then, excuse my French, but time we get the check, the taxes then ate it up. And I don't think that's fair, you know. And then y'all got little stipulations on it. You know, if that's what I signed up for, the bonus, that's what I think I need to be getting. The bonus, not no whatever y'all decide because I didn't want to come in, I ain't feel good or something like that. That's just not fair to us, you know, so I don't know. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to testify? Mm-hmm. Any other workers wish to testify before we get into public testimony? Yeah, you got to come up to the mic.
How y'all doing? My name is Antoinette Waters.
You got to talk into the mic and introduce yourself.
My name is Antoinette Waters. I work out of the Northwest Transfer Station, but right now I'm at the landfill. I just witnessed the union rep threaten an employee to meet him outside. That's crazy to me. Y'all just was having a meeting. The guy that was sitting right there in the middle, he just threatened the guy that had the green hat on. That means we need different representation, because if he can't handle himself in a professional setting, how does he handle himself at the workplace when it comes to us as employees? I just witnessed this and it's crazy to me. Nobody else saw it because it happened outside. But that just shows that we need different representation. The way that he just handled himself was crazy. The police had to escort them out. Not like pull him by force, but yeah, push him out. He just invited this man outside. Just now, like 20 minutes ago. Crazy. He waited for him. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's our union representation. That's who represents us, like, and that's the level of professionalism he has. That there is none. Where's the decorum? Like, you're supposed to carry yourself to a higher standard, especially when you're representing Local 44 as a whole. Like, that's crazy. What's the process for that? Like, are we just stuck with them and that's what we have to deal with? How does that work? Right now. You don't know?
Yeah, so we'll look into the situation. We're taking testimony now, so appreciate you bringing
that's
that.
all I had to say.
Bring that to our
We just need
attention.
union representation that's really working for us. Like, y'all talked about everything that went on. I see a lot of things from my perspective that you guys don't see, and it's a lot of retaliation, a lot of time. Like, they hold the time hostage, but then they allow certain people to get it. It's not like it's supposed to be where it's posted and everybody's supposed to write your name to sign up for overtime. That hasn't been done in years at Northwest Transfer Station. They just give it to whomever they choose to. That's not cool. It's supposed to be spread across the board. I don't get overtime right now, so I'm not tripping about it. But it's a conversation that's had. And the problem is nobody's here but these people here. Everybody has something to say, but nobody shows up when it really counts. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other workers that would like to testify? Okay, we'll open up to public testimony. Do we have anybody signed in? We have nobody signed in. Is there somebody that would like to testify?
I signed up.
All right, come on up. Tell us your name for the record. And
Good evening. My name is Dr. Marvin Cheatham. I'm a retired 52 years civil rights leader here in Baltimore. My experience would be 42 years with the National Labor Relations Board, 57 years as a civil rights leader here in Baltimore. I headed up the Southern Christian Leadership Conference by Dr. King. I headed up the NAACP. I was the #1 branch in the nation. And I also headed up the National Action Network with Al Sharpton. For the last 6 months, myself and other civil rights leaders tried to render help in a situation. We weren't able to do it. We weren't able to do it because the culture that exists, not only in DPW, DGS, the clerk's office, we had 4 different city agencies come to us. They met with us privately. We met twice at Huber Church. Place was filled, but folks are reluctant and afraid because they know they will lose their jobs if they come out and speak out. I heard the person tell the brother that was here, "Come outside, I see you outside," while I was here. That's what's going on. The culture is what's running some of these folks away. The pay definitely is not there. The last guy that died in my park. I have a park in the 1500 block of McKean. There was no reason for him to get crushed there. The training is not there. The communication is not there. The union has not properly represented them. I'm a past union president, a union member for 42 years. I know about unions. I work for the National Labor Relations Board. What needs to be done, and y'all need to help these employees who are reluctant, as anyone would be, to lose their job for speaking out. We tried to get them. I sat for 6 hours in front of Rebird, trying to get people to at least sign whether or not they were interested in having what's done in the National Labor Relations Board process. You have a right to petition to see if you want another union. You hearing these folks. Their problem is they're not getting proper representation. I've been a union president. These folks are not representing them well, which make the problem even different. You need to give them some assistance to be able to let them go, and they have a right to petition. You got to create the petition under the NAACP. I mean, under the National Labor Relations Board. I've been with so many different organizations, but they need the right to be able to decide whether or not they want different union representation. There's a process that we have within NLRB. As I said, I was with them for 42 years. They at least need to have that afforded. I've registered more voters in this state since 1971 than anyone. They need the right to have a petition to see if they want better representation. And what I'm suggesting, and I'll close with this, there are a number of us that are, I would call us civil rights experts. I did 50-some years heading up 3 civil rights groups. We need to be able to, I guess, review what y'all do in the next 4 years as our city council representatives. I think an outside group of us that are civil rights retirees need to sit down, and I would say the Office of the Inspector General, outstanding. We had her at 2 of our meetings. We've had some private meetings to see how can we help. We found out we couldn't help them. The employees are too afraid to say anything. And if they do say something, they will retaliate. There's a new book that just came out about the President of the United States and how he retaliates. Well, that's happening here. The folks are being retaliated. And for me to sit here and hear one guy get up and one of the union guys tells him, "You come outside, I see you outside." That's why I was sitting here. That's what's going on. The culture needs to be improved. I got some folks, at least a dozen, that are willing to give time and energy, no money. We just know things need to be improved. We shouldn't go back to this 4 years from now and say we're still fighting the same issues. We need a group of people to be able to oversee the recommendations. But I will say the Office of the Inspector General, love her dearly, love the work that she does, reads all of her reports. She's on point. She's on point. So thank you very much for having me. I'm willing to help even at this age. I've had 2 major strokes. Was willing to give up my life because I just couldn't handle it anymore. But the Lord told me, Doc Cheatham, your job is not finished. My job is not going to be finished. I'm going to help these employees. I don't know how I can do it. If we can't get y'all to help us, let these people sign a petition whether they want better union representation. But right now, the union is failing them.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to testify? Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to testify? Last call for anybody who would like to testify? Nope. Okay. Well, I'm going to give the council president opportunity to give closing remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again, Director and the team. Thank you to the DPW workers that came here tonight. Thank you to Inspector General and her team. Thank you to AFSCME Cub. Thank you to my colleagues on the City Council. A few things that stood out to me tonight as some immediate next steps. Director, you committed to a pay raise for the workers. It is this council's expectation that we will hear something about that soon, and would just like to ask, when can we find out what that pay raise will look like?
Once we are finished negotiations.
Chief James, is there a timeline on that?
Right now, what we can say is that we're in active negotiations. Again, it is always preempted by what the schedule is on both sides, but to be very clear, we have no desire to go beyond what is the summertime, but like we're in active negotiations.
So you said summertime?
Well before summer, but just to be very clear, at its furthest extent.
Understood. So we have budget negotiations coming up. The council will be pushing and engaging around a pay raise for the workers. And I appreciate that commitment from DPW. Also heard a commitment around doing a ride-along with some council members, the front line, the staff. Also heard a commitment around heat safety standards. You mentioned that is also in active negotiation. It is our expectation that that negotiation, that policy will be wrapped within the next, 4 weeks?
3 to 4 weeks we should be done. As I said, we're meeting with the union on Tuesday. We're hoping to, close that out with minimum comments, and then we'll want to go to the front line people to just make sure we share the same heat line. I mean, the same plan with them as well, and finalize it by that time. We are having a training for heat illness training in April. We should have that completely done by then.
Got it. All right, so heat standard will be completed within the next 4 weeks. Great. All right, and then finally, also heard commitment around some of the retraining, some of the work with supervisors, and improving the safety culture. And the expectation of this council is that that is going to be an ongoing process, but that immediate improvements are being made and will continue to be made. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is accurate. And we're working on that. And you could see actually the difference from the communication that we had through the past 6 months, our involvement with the team, our involvement with the people, our talking, discussions with them, we're heading in the right direction.
Great. So from this hearing, we've heard pay raise, we've heard heat standards, we've heard safety improvements, and we've heard a ride along with council members and your frontline staff. Is that an accurate summation?
Yes, it is an accurate summation.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Again, I want to thank everyone. Safety and pay are of the utmost importance to this council and to this administration as well. I think it's extremely important that we all work together on behalf of the workers of the Department of Public Works as they work extremely hard for us. Again, thank you to everyone, and I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for convening this hearing.
And Mr. Council President, Mr. Chair, I do want to correct the record that we did commit to having this done by the fiscal year budget. So just to be very clear, so if you would just, for
What part of that, Mr. James?
to have the negotiations done by the fiscal
budget
year.
time.
Yep, yes, sir.
Got it.
Yep. So and the only reason that we always say that is because the administration has the ability to be able to work with any union to be able to extend timelines or deadlines, but that is our sincere commitment to work to have it done by the fiscal year budget.
Can you put a date on that?
I can't, just because I can't put a specific date on it, because again, we would be limiting what would be the possibility of negotiations. However, though, we have a strong desire to have it done by the fiscal year budget. So I can't put a specific date on it.
All right. We will be checking back in on that. Again, want to thank everyone for convening this hearing this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, and I just want to thank everybody for attending. Please check the area around your seats to make certain that you have everything that you brought with you. We'll be closing the room shortly. We are now in recess.